All right, guys, welcome back to the stream. Welcome if you are new. Thank you for joining me today. Appreciate you guys being here. We have what seems to be like 200 people here already, which is awesome to see. So if you're here now with me, or even if you're watching this after the fact, please do me a favor, hit that like button. Definitely helps out. We have some very, very interesting topics to go over and talk about here today because we're learning some pretty interesting things about PlayStation, about Xbox, about, the ongoing Activision Blizzard deal, that whole situation. And there's a lot that we're learning, but there's one thing in particular that I think is very, very telling and very interesting. And we're going to go over that today. We have multiple topics we are discussing today, though. And right off the bat here, we have Zombie Dragon. Zombie Dragon coming in, gifting a membership. We already have W's going in the chat. Shout out to you, Zombie Dragon, for getting things started today. I really appreciate that, dude. Big shout out to you. Let me give you a Crazy Arnold laugh there for that one. So, yeah, this will allow me to just let everybody know, Zombie Dragon getting us started here. If you guys want to support what I do here, if you appreciate this content, if you enjoy it, consider following up Zombie Dragon here and gifting some memberships if you are a member. If you are not a member, please consider becoming one. And we have Zombie Dragon following that up with another 5 members gifted. And then Jay Pierce jumps in, gifting a membership, bringing us up to 7 already, guys. And there's Corey. Corey's getting it going too. You guys have a membership train going right out of the gate. Love to see it, man. We are at 8 members on the day. We got Corey Landiga coming in, following Jay Pierce with another gifted membership as well. Guys, W's in the chat all around. Got to give you a Keanu for that. You guys are the best. Sincerely appreciate that support. And yeah, if you're here with me now, or, if you join us later, consider supporting the channel in these ways. I am fan funded. And we got Hellbound 1981 following up Corey here with a gifted membership as well, bringing us up to 9 new members on the day. Look at that, guys. Look at that. We have a membership train going immediately into the stream. Absolutely love to see it. You can feel the energy today. I feel the energy today. So I really appreciate that, Hellbound, Corey, Jay, Pierce, Zombie Dragon. You guys are awesome. You guys have continually gifted memberships. I see Julian going crazy in the chat with W's. Appreciate that as well, man. And I'll give you guys a little Jim Ryan for those 9 membership gifts because, yeah, we are talking about Jim Ryan today. Oh, Jimmy boy. Jim Lion Ryan. Jim Crying Ryan. I don't know. What do you guys prefer? I feel like at this point, we're about to... I think Jim is going to earn the nickname today, Jim Lion Ryan, but it may sound like a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing. Not saying that I'm okay with lying, but we are learning a truth today that this truth to me is actually incredibly reassuring because it gives us a definitive answer. And we have Emmanuel Parry coming in, gifting a membership as well, bringing us up to 10 members on the day. Guys, look at this. We already have 10 members on the day. Really sincerely appreciate that kind of support, guys. Absolutely incredible to see. Anybody who is in the chat right now, if you have a membership, consider following these guys up, continuing this member train. We are still growing the community here. We have an awesome community, so thank you for that. Very generous community as well. So shout out to you, Emmanuel. I'll give you just a crazy Arnold for that one. Yeah, love to see it, dude. Love to see it. We have Chris saying thank you for the gifted membership. And yeah, love to see it. Very generous individuals in the community we have here. So really appreciate you guys and all the support. And yeah, that's why I put emphasis about that at the front of every stream. As I say, I am fan funded. I literally couldn't do what I do here with you guys if it wasn't for the direct support that you guys show. So as you know, gifting memberships is huge. If you are not a member, please consider becoming a member. But another way you can help support the channel directly, Super Chats. Super Chats go an incredibly long way as well. That is another fantastic way to support the channel directly. It's fan funding, and so it means the world. So thank you guys. So what am I talking about? Okay, so the big topic I want to dive into here, okay? Like to me, this is like the big one. You know how like for the past year when we've been talking about the Activision Blizzard deal, right? We've been talking about this, and we've seen Sony and Jim Ryan come out and basically take this stance of, oh, I don't know what we're gonna do, man. I don't know what we're gonna do. We won't be able to continue our business. So what is that one Jim Ryan quote? What did he say? That their business will never recover if they lose Call of Duty or something like that, or if Microsoft gets Activision Blizzard. And we had conversations over and over and over again about like, what is going on here? Why is Sony acting so weak? Do we believe them? Does Sony actually feel this way? Or are they putting on a front? Are they lying? Are they just trying to do and say whatever they can to get this deal blocked? Well, a leaked email that we definitely weren't supposed to know about, at least the public wasn't supposed to know about, has been revealed. And it's a Jim Ryan email. And I think it gives us a pretty good idea and pretty good understanding of just exactly how Sony really feels about the Activision Blizzard deal. And it's actually kind of funny. I see somebody in the chat saying, I'm so tired of this. Dude, everybody's tired of this, but there's nothing anybody can do about it. Like right now, I'm pretty sure Phil Spencer is testifying. I think he's on the stand right now as I speak. This is where we are in the gaming industry with PlayStation and Xbox. I don't know why, but that's just where we are. But I have an article here from PlayStation Lifestyle. It says, Sony Interactive Entertainment CEO admits Xbox Activision deal is not about exclusives. Sony Interactive Entertainment CEO Jim Ryan has made quite a stink about Microsoft's deal to try and buy Activision. However, his private emails show that he might not be as worried as his public statements have implied. This came to light in an unsealed email, and it was revealed in the Federal Trade Commission hearing regarding Microsoft's proposed deal to buy Activision. The email between Jim Ryan and a former Sony CEO talks about exclusivity and how he thinks Call of Duty will stay on PlayStation. So this is exactly what Jim Ryan said. Quote, "It is not an exclusivity play at all. They're thinking bigger than that, and they have the cash to make moves like this. I've spent a fair amount of time with Phil Spencer and Bobby Kotick, and I'm pretty sure we will continue to see Call of Duty on PlayStation for years to come. We have some good stuff cooking. I'm not complacent. I'd rather this didn't happen, but we'll be okay. We'll be more than okay." This is different from Jim Ryan's other statements, as he allegedly previously said in a hearing that he didn't want a new Call of Duty deal and that he only wanted to block the merger. And despite him saying in the aforementioned email that he was pretty sure Call of Duty would stay on PlayStation, he stated in the past its business would never recover if Call of Duty was downgraded on PlayStation, something Sony has brought up before because players would desert the PlayStation platform in droves. Microsoft has offered to continue putting Call of Duty on PlayStation multiple times. Ryan called one of these previous Call of Duty deals inadequate on many levels, even though it promised to keep the series on PlayStation for several more years. Microsoft then offered a longer 10-year deal, which Sony still refused. Nintendo, however, accepted the deal. Bobby Kotick accused Sony of trying to sabotage the acquisition and said Jim Ryan had stopped communicating with Activision and Microsoft. General Manager of Public Affairs at Microsoft, David Cuddy, gave a response to The Verge, pointing out that Sony knew Microsoft would stand by its word and keep some of its games on PlayStation. Quote, "Today showed Sony has known all along we'll stand by our promise to keep games on its platform and made clear its work to lobby against the deal is only to protect its dominant position in the market," end quote. And so that is the entirety of the write-up. And I gotta say, man, I love to see it. I can't help it. I love this idea of Sony and Jim Ryan, coming out and just trying everything they can to just twist Microsoft's arm, to just do anything they can to make this more difficult for them, to make sure that, hey, we might not be able to block this, but we want to make it known, F you. F you, you guys suck. Like we don't condone this. We're not signing your deal. And so, publicly facing, they have to look weak and they have to be like, oh, we'll never recover. But behind the scenes, Jim Ryan, he doesn't care, bro. He's just like, dude. I mean, it's this quote in particular that I love, because I just imagine Jim Ryan saying this. Okay, we have some good stuff cooking. That's my new favorite Jim Ryan quote. We have some good stuff cooking. I'm not complacent. I'd rather this didn't happen, but we'll be okay. We'll be more than okay. I mean, that. So Jim Ryan's been called a lot of things, right? And I think the most fair thing we can say Jim Ryan is he's a bit of a liar. Yeah, he's a bit of a liar, but it's understandable, right? Let him cook. Yeah, let Jim Ryan cook, man. I just love this, though, because we finally have our answer. PlayStation fans have been asking this whole time. They've been asking this whole time, like, does Sony really care that? Like, is Sony actually that worried? No, they're not. Sony is, at least Jim Ryan believes, dude, we're going to be totally fine. We're going to be perfectly fine. We know we're not losing Call of Duty. And so this is, people have called Sony petty, right? And I agree with that. Like, this is kind of petty on their part, but I don't blame them. I don't blame Sony. Like, if anything, this is kind of par for the course for them, right? Sony has done all the things that they've done for the past, 3 decades to become the dominant leader in this market. And they've never done so by buying a publisher. And then Microsoft's just like, you know what? We're just going to leverage our money. We're just going to outspend you. And that's how we're going to get on top. So, yeah, I mean, screw it. If you're Sony, like, what do you have to lose, man? It's not the best PR look, I admit, but it just goes to show, man, Sony really does hate Microsoft. They really do. Like, this email, more than anything, proves that there is some serious bad blood between, specifically Jim Ryan anyway, and Microsoft. Jay Pierce, you're saying, did you see Xbox's private email that was released in court saying they want to put Sony out of business? They said it was from 2019. Do you believe that? Dude, that's the whole thing. I talked about this in my last stream, Jay, but it's definitely worth reiterating here. Yeah, Matt Booty basically from Xbox got caught red-handed with an email where he says, I mean, we're not quoting him, but he basically was talking about how their goal is to put Sony out of business. It's like, of course it is, dude. It's always been that, and that's still exactly what it is. That's exactly what Microsoft wants to do. I'm so sick and tired of people acting, and you're seeing less of it now, but it's easy for people to just pretend that they haven't been acting this way this whole time. Like, Sony's goal is to eradicate Microsoft and get them out of the gaming market, and Microsoft's goal is to overtake Sony and eventually shrink Sony and get them as far out of the market as they can. They're in competition. Microsoft did not in 2019 decide, hey, we're going to put Sony out of business. That's our goal. To then in 2020, 2021, and 2022, when they started making all these major acquisitions, like, what do people think? That they just changed their mind? Oh, we just bought Bethesda because we don't want to put Sony out of business. We just bought Activision Blizzard, or are attempting to, because we love Sony and we just want to be the good guys here. We just want to put our content everywhere. It's like, come on, man. Of course we know Microsoft wants to take Sony out, and that hasn't changed. Here's the thing, though. We have to understand, Jay, that the reason why it kind of is irrelevant, right, and this whole notion of, well, Microsoft said this thing in an email in 2019, well, because Microsoft could say, dude, that was an email from 2019. We don't feel that way now. How do we disprove it? We can't, unless we find another email. That pretty much specifically says in 2022 or 23 or 21 the same thing. Really quick, I want to give a shout out to DJ Bruntmeyer and Snow CX. Thank you guys so much. We have 2 people here. Well, actually, I'm not sure. Snow CX, I think this is... Yeah, okay. I got very confused there for a moment. Snow CX is already a member, but DJ Bruntmeyer has chosen to become a member today. That brings us up to 11 members, although it's showing 12 for you guys because for some reason, some of these, like I say, these member chats, they count as new members for some reason. But Thank you so much, DJ Bruntmeyer. I really appreciate that support. Buck, you're saying Ryan is cooking up those games as a service. Believe me, that's not the only thing Jim Ryan's cooking up, man. And yeah, that's a huge part of what Jim is referring to. We have yet to see, not most, but many of these live service games. But there are plenty of single player games they have in development as well that we haven't seen. I just love the idea of Jim Ryan in an email saying, like, we have some good stuff cooking. Like, he's very confident in what they have. So I appreciate the super chat, Buck. And Clement, you're saying, love your content, man. Well, I really appreciate that, dude. I really do. You're saying an FTC lawyer brought a PS5 to the courtroom? Why? Why would he bring a PS5 to the courtroom? That's so random. I feel like that's just so unnecessary. But I'm sure they have their reasons. But I appreciate that, Clement. And yeah, that's the whole thing about this situation, man, is we have been speculating for literally months now, like well over a year. Like, how does Sony really feel about this? And it just turns out that Sony's not worried. Sony is completely confident. They are completely confident that when Microsoft, if this deal does go through, they know they're going to continue to get Call of Duty. And they also know that this isn't just going to knock Sony, down to the third place where Microsoft has been this whole time, right? Like, they're not threatened by Microsoft in the sense that they're panicking and they're freaking out. They clearly feel like, hey, we are confident in what we have. And to me, that is really reassuring, because I was genuinely concerned about how concerned Sony seemed. And there have been many times in past streams where I've talked about how, like, I think Sony's putting way too much stock in Call of Duty, man. Like, I know Call of Duty's a moneymaker for them. I know Sony is pissed off that Microsoft is just out here buying publishers and outspending them. I get that. But the way Sony was acting, I really was just like, there's no way they actually feel this way, right? Because that's pretty sad and pathetic. And it's just really good to know that, yeah, that's actually not how they feel. They're just basically trying to be assholes to Microsoft. And it's so funny, dude, because you see like Xbox fanboys like punching air and raging and throwing fits because they're like, see, Sony's so mean. Look at them. They just want to stay number one. They just want to stop this acquisition. It's like, dude, what do you expect? Like, do you expect Sony to be the good guy here in this case towards Microsoft? Do you expect Sony to just be like, you know what, Microsoft, we would love to sign your 10-year contract? Like, Sony called Microsoft's bluff. Sony said you can take that contract. It could be 3 years, it could be 10 years, and you can shove it. And you know why? Because we know you won't take Call of Duty off of PlayStation. And the reason we know this is because, well, number one, you can't, okay, because of the position you're in. The regulators will be all over you if you even attempt to do that. But number two, most importantly, the bulk of the money is made from PlayStation, man. The bulk of Call of Duty money is made from PlayStation. And people seem to forget the end goal for Microsoft here is not to sell consoles. Yes, it is to get people on Game Pass, but at the very end of the day, Microsoft's end goal is no different than any other company's end goal, and that is make more money. Make more money. And by keeping Call of Duty on PlayStation, they make a lot more money. Saying a couple of new updates via Tom Warren on Twitter coming from Domingo 813. Let me go check that out, man. Yeah, that's the thing is, as I'm streaming this, we do have like live updates that are happening. I see Jim Ryan is trending. Let's see, Tom Warren. What is Tom Warren letting us know? Xbox chief Phil Spencer says, quote, every time we ship a game on PlayStation, Sony captures 30% of the revenue that we do on their platform, and then they use that money to do things to try and reduce Xbox's survival on the market. Oh, boo-hoo, Phil. Oh my God. Dude, I love this shit. I love the stuff that's coming out of this where it's like, they want us gone. Like, you are a multi-trillion-dollar corporation. How are you making arguments that involve money? Like, what on God's green earth is happening here, people? Sony makes money off of games we ship. They take 30% and they then take that money and they use it to try to reduce Xbox's survival in the market. Like, reduce Xbox's survival in the market. Bro, you have, like, Microsoft is now worth $2.6 trillion. What are you talking about? Like, how is Sony even remotely a threat to you? The reason why Sony is a threat to Xbox and Xbox's survivability is because of how fucking good they are. That's all it is, dude. And I get it. Like, I get Phil Spencer's in court. I understand he's going to make any argument he can, but we all see right through it. Okay? Like, hey, Phil, you're going to make... I hate to break it to Phil Spencer. Jim Ryan can make that exact same argument, right? Jim Ryan can come out and he can say, hey, we're going to be shipping Marathon from Bungie. We own Bungie. And Xbox is going to get a 30% cut of every copy of Marathon and microtransaction and everything else that's sold. So what Microsoft is then going to do is they're going to take that money and then they're going to put it towards buying companies like Activision Blizzard. Does that not reduce Sony's survivability in the market? Like, what is this nonsense? If anything, what Microsoft is doing is way more damaging. Way, way, way more potentially damaging than anything Sony has done. That is wild, bro. All right, here's another one. Phil Spencer is asked about the console wars and whether Microsoft has lost them. He sees Sony as an aggressive competitor that does things to, quote, block Xbox's survival. Oh my God. Dude, Phil is legit out here being like, Sony's trying to kill us, man. You don't get it. They're trying to snipe us every day. We're trying to survive out in these streets. Like, oh my Lord, bro. It is fun. This is why it's so entertaining, man, because it's like, it's so overly exaggerated. Microsoft and Xbox just trying to survive out in these gaming streets, bro. MBG, really? Sony pays block fees? Is that fair? You think Microsoft doesn't? You think Microsoft doesn't also engage in these exact same business practices? I hate to break it to you, man. They do. They may have reduced the amount they do it now because they decided rather than spending money on anything that's going to, prevent something from going to the platform holder, and just specifically hone in on that, they're now going to just go for the bigger picture. Like, how about we just buy the whole thing and just take it away? We could do that, Granted, they won't take Call of Duty away, which it'd be very stupid of them to do that. Marathon will be day one on Game Pass. Oh my God, wouldn't that be the day? That would be so funny. Dude, I don't want to hear about what's fair anymore, man. It's not about what's fair. Like, we need to collectively throw that out the window. And the sooner people do that and the sooner people realize that this is business, this is not about what's right or what's fair. It's not about what's worth defending. Like, at the end of the day, dude, these corporations, they're going to do whatever they need to get ahead. Like, again, people need to wake up and realize Microsoft is not acquiring Activision Blizzard for the benefit of the consumer. They are acquiring Activision Blizzard for the benefit of them and their business. Now, can they construct that in a way to make it be beneficial to the consumer? Yes, but at the end of the day, you can't walk away from that fact. Anything that is done first and foremost for the benefit of the company and their bottom line. And I just think it's wild that, people continue to have these arguments and these conversations about like what's fair and what's not. Like, dude, it doesn't matter. Like, I just covered a topic yesterday about Microsoft crying about like, well, it's easier for Sony to secure third-party exclusives. Like, well, no shit, because they know how to sell their console and they sell it really well and they sell more units than you do. So, of course, it's going to be easier for them. It's going to be more enticing for other publishers to say, if we're going to make a game exclusive, we may as well make it for the, more popular console. Again, everything that is being discussed today hinges on Microsoft's failure. Microsoft is targeting Sony's success. You can't blame them. It's a smart thing to do, but here's the cold hard fact of the matter. Microsoft is weaponizing Sony's success against them. Look at what Phil Spencer just said. He said it twice. He mentioned Sony is doing things to reduce Xbox's survival on the market. That is fucking called competition, Phil. The very thing that you're arguing, you're trying to seek out. Okay? You did give Sony competition. Okay? You gave Sony competition in the 360 era, and your company just totally fucked it up with the PS4 and the Xbox One. And you cannot blame Sony. You cannot blame Sony. You cannot point the finger at Sony. You cannot cry about Sony basically just saying, well, it's not our fucking fault you guys suck. We're just going to make great games, and we're just going to, do the best we can. And that's what Sony did, and they got rewarded for it. Now, when people turn that around on me, they say, well, okay, then is it unfair for Microsoft if they're struggling to survive, or Xbox is struggling to survive? Is it unfair for them to just say, you know what, we're going to go buy publishers then? You know what, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I could say it's unfair. I could say it's totally fair. It doesn't matter. It's an option. That's the point. That's the point. It's an option, and Microsoft will exploit that option so they don't die. It's just so funny to me how so much of this is being pinned against Sony, and you could see how petty it's becoming between both of them. Microsoft is out here essentially using the argument that they've been using this whole time, which is, we got stomped. Sony whooped our ass. So that's why we should be allowed to do everything that we're doing. And you can't blame them, man. If I was in Phil's seat, I'd be saying the same thing. But you know what? At the end of the day, people who know, man. People who know. And let's see what else. Hold on. I think we have some more quotes. Do we have more quotes? I don't know. Let me see. Because, these quotes are amazing. And it's so funny, man. It's so funny if you go on Twitter. Oh my God, dude. Twitter is a fucking battleground right now, bro. The amount of people that are just cheering Microsoft, Xbox, like they are the underdogs. They are the multi-trillion-dollar underdogs. Sony's been shitting on them. It's time for Microsoft to really rise up. It's like, holy shit, you guys are fucking clowns. Okay? Because you know what everybody ignores? Everybody ignores the fact that, so we're going to talk about how Bethesda's Pete Hines basically just came out yesterday and talked about how blindsided Bethesda was when Microsoft, turned to them and they were like, yeah, you guys are going to make all of your stuff exclusive. And then they turn to Activision and they say, oh yeah, we'll just do 10-year deals. You guys can stay multi-platform, the whole thing. Like no one's talking about that. Well, at least very few people are talking about that. It's pretty clear. If you know how to read between the lines, Pete Hines was basically saying, like, we didn't appreciate that. Bethesda didn't appreciate the fact that Microsoft just flat out came out and was like, yeah, we're going to be just making all your stuff exclusive. And meanwhile, we're going to, we're going to go make all this multi-platform. And yeah, like that doesn't really scream autonomy, does it? We got DJ Bruntmeyer. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. You became a member today, and now you're paying it forward and you're gifting a membership. That brings us up to 12 on the day, guys. Let's get some W's in the chat for DJ. Thank you so much, man. I think that's the first time I've seen you gifting memberships as well. Really appreciate that kind of support, man. Means a lot to me. W's in the chat for DJ. Let me see. I got Domingo813 again. You're saying, go to his tweet 1 hour ago, talks about them teraflops. Oh, okay. I'll check that out. And then we got The Furious saying, is Minecraft money on PlayStation not contributing to ABK? Exactly. Dude, it's so stupid. These arguments are so dumb. Zekophobia, wonder who that is, saying, sorry I've been gone a while, quarter life crisis stuff going on. How the hell do you do this YouTube stuff, MBG? It's harder than I thought. It is tough, man. I won't lie. It's not the hardest thing. Certainly not. But there are aspects to it. Everything, as I always tell people, everything comes with a price, man. Nothing is ever as easy as it seems on the surface. That's regarding everything, not just YouTube, of course. So I appreciate that, man, and glad to have you back. Let's go see what about the T-flops? Let me see. An hour ago. Phil Spencer is currently being questioned about the Nintendo Switch. Microsoft and the FTC have been sparring over whether the Switch should be counted in its definition of console market. Spencer has to discuss frames per second and teraflops. Okay, so it says the FTC doesn't think the Nintendo Switch should be counted in the market that Xbox operates in. It has been a source of debate between Microsoft and the FTC, and now the FTC is grilling Spencer about the Switch. The Switch was designed for people to take on the go, says Spencer. It has a battery. It's a mobile platform. People can take it with them. Whereas with Gen 8, with the Xbox One, it requires that they're plugged into a wall and don't have a screen. Nintendo has built a different platform, but the FTC reads Spencer's previous testimony back to him. Quote, in terms of CPU and GPU, it would be more akin to Gen 8 devices, said Spencer previously. The questioning then moves on to how many frames per second the Xbox Series X and S consoles can support. Spencer says he doesn't know the FPS that Nintendo Switch can support. Finally, he asked about GPU teraflops, as the FTC is once again trying to demonstrate the Nintendo Switch is different to the PS5 and the Xbox Series S and X consoles. Xbox Series X metric operates higher T-flops than the Switch, asked the FTC lawyer, if I could speak. That's fair to say, says Phil Spencer. Damn, bro, the FTC is straight up out here using Microsoft's own marketing from 2020 against them, being like, but the teraflops are higher, are they not, Phil? Right? Like, the teraflops on the Series X are higher than the Switch. Huh? Okay, what are we going to say? Phil's just like, you got me there. You got me there. That's funny as hell, man. Figuratively literal, you're saying all the companies Microsoft put out of business to achieve its dominant position in the OS market are rolling in their graves. There's a reason why the FTC has a bone to pick with Microsoft. I know, man. That's what I'm saying, dude. That, like, it is comical. It is absolutely comical to hear Phil Spencer coming out and talking about Xbox's survivability in the market. Like, okay, yeah, you would know a thing or two about that, wouldn't you, Microsoft? You know, you would know a thing or two about taking out the competitor and making sure that their survivability is as low as it possibly can be. Wild stuff, bro. Wild stuff. Jeez, man. I got a couple of other good ones here. Check this out. All right, so I have this article, and I love the way this article's written up from Push Square. We've lost the console wars, says trillion-dollar underdog Xbox. One consistent theme throughout the entire sorry Activision Blizzard buyout saga has been how both Sony and Microsoft have utterly dismantled their own businesses in an attempt to convince regulators to get their own way. The latest effort comes courtesy of the U.S. Federal Trade Commission's ongoing court case, where trillion-dollar tech giant Microsoft has once again attempted to paint itself as the underdog in an effort to get its $69 billion buyout through. Xbox's console has consistently ranked third behind PlayStation in sales, Microsoft pointed out, parading the fact that it had just 16% market share. Xbox has lost the console wars, and its rivals are positioned to continue to dominate, including by leveraging exclusive content. Xbox has consistently ranked third in consoles behind PlayStation and Nintendo. While it's true that PlayStation has routinely used its position to secure timed and console exclusives like Final Fantasy XVI, for example, it's a tactic generally employed by all console manufacturers. In fact, it was recently revealed that Redfall was in development for PS5 prior to Bethesda's buyout of the publisher, and Starfield was also famously planned for PlayStation at one point as well. There's no arguing with Microsoft's comment about Xbox trailing behind PlayStation and Nintendo in hardware sales, as these are facts. However, it's hard to take a company's underdog act at face value when it's only occurring as part of an attempt to close such a massive buyout. And so, yeah, we once again have Microsoft literally coming out and saying, we lost the console wars and it's over. And you know, it's just so comical to me. It is absolutely insane to be hearing them saying this right now. When it's like, dude, all I've heard for the past like 2 or 3 weeks is how Xbox, they did it, man. They made the comeback. They had an amazing showcase. They have more games than ever before coming, and they have Starfield. This is why I'm saying, like, how can they even, like, how can they make this argument? Like, are you telling me Starfield's not going to sell a massive amount of Xbox consoles? Because if that's true, then people are lying about how big Starfield really is and how much reach it's actually going to have. And I don't think they're lying. I think Starfield absolutely has that reach. Why do you think they made it exclusive? It is fucking dumb how pathetic Microsoft looks, man. Like, they are out here straight up fucking lying right to your face. At least when I look at Jim Ryan's fucking email about how, like, yeah, we're not actually that worried. It's like, you know what? I'm not surprised. Like, Sony has, that's just the way they are, man. Like, they don't give a shit. They're not out here trying to put on some kind of act to act like, oh, we're all about, the gamer, and we're just the good guys out here. Like, Sony doesn't care, man. It's business. And that's how they treat it. They don't, try not to cross lines, of course. You cross a line, you're gonna piss off your entire customer base. And obviously that's gonna be bad for business. But it's just nonsensical to me how I see so many people running around out here like they're just so desperate to see Microsoft get a win here, where it's like, dude, they just got to win. And now they just got to win with their showcase. They just got to win with Starfield. But now they need an even bigger win by getting Activision Blizzard. And these are the arguments they're making. Like, I'm not saying I expect Microsoft to come out here and straight up say, like, we want Activision Blizzard because we want to dominate, because we want to change the market. I don't expect Microsoft to do that. But what I do expect is for people to not actually be dumb enough to think that that's not what they're doing here. Like, people are practically gaslighting themselves. Did you guys know that the Indiana Jones game is going to be exclusive, by the way? Now, I want to make it clear. I have no problem with this. Okay? I've never had a problem with platform holders securing exclusive content. I have been dragged so many times for basically saying, like, I think it's fine. It's always been part of the industry. It will always be part of the industry. Everyone does it, and everyone will continue to do it. So go for it, man. If you want to secure an exclusive game to incentivize people to come to your platform, then go for it. And I just get shit on. I get shit, oh, my exclusives and the whole fucking thing. And then we come to find, hey, Indiana Jones was apparently going to be a multi-platform title. And after Microsoft acquired them, they then said, okay, well, let's restructure this deal. Let's rework this deal. And we're going to make it exclusive. We're going to make sure it doesn't release on PlayStation. Okay, that's fine, man. Like, you just bought Bethesda. Why wouldn't you do that? But now people are acting like, oh, you have a problem with exclusives? Like, no one has a problem with exclusives. Like, the only fucking people who've had a problem with exclusives are people who listen to Phil Spencer. Oh my God, dude. Check it out. Check it out. I'm going to get to these super chats. Give me 1 second. Look. Here's a quote from Phil Spencer in 2020. Quote, gaming is about entertainment and community and diversion and learning new stories and new perspectives. I find it completely counter to what gaming is about to say that part of that is to lock people away from being able to experience those games or to force someone to buy my specific device on the day that I want them to go buy it in order to partake in what gaming is about. Gaming is bigger than any one device. So Phil Spencer's pretty much out here just saying, like, dude, exclusivity is counter to what gaming is all about. Then he proceeds to fucking secure a bunch of exclusives. Now, here's the thing. I don't have a problem with Phil Spencer securing exclusives. Go ahead, man. Like, that's your job. That's what you should be doing. That's what your fan base is asking you to do to make your console more relevant and to have a fighting chance. So good on you. Go get your exclusives. But what's so stupid is when you have that same person who's in charge saying something like that, and then the fan base runs with that, and they paint this narrative where exclusives are bad and Sony's bad, and all they care about is exclusives and blah 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 blah. And then here we are. Well, it turns out Microsoft wanted Redfall exclusive, they wanted Starfield exclusive, and they want Indiana Jones exclusive. And suddenly, just like that, exclusives are okay again. It's a fucking joke, dude. These people are morons. These people are fucking morons. Like, they come out here and they talk about this shit and they run with it, and then just right in front of their face, literally right in front of their face, the very thing that they're either A, defending, or B, the narrative that they're choosing to run with just gets shredded right in front of them. It's crazy, dude. It's crazy. And you know what? Good on them, dude. They need Indiana Jones as an exclusive. So let me get this straight. We got a AAA Indiana Jones game. We got Starfield, right? We got Hellblade. We got the next id Software title. We got another Machine Games title that's apparently not Indiana Jones, right? We got Fable. We got Compulsion. We got... Who else do we got? In Exile with their new game. But Microsoft doesn't have enough to compete. Nope, they don't have enough to compete. Like, these people don't know what they want, man. This fan base doesn't. They don't know what they want. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't know what they're saying. Yeah, I got Forza as well. Got to throw Forza in there. It's just crazy, man. It's crazy how, like, one day people will just run with what's said. Like, at least when Jim Ryan was acting like a little bitch, when Jim Ryan last year was out here being like, our business would never recover, what was I saying? I'll tell you what I said. I made a stream saying, what the fuck are you talking about, Jim? That sounds pretty damn stupid. Why would you say that? Sony, what's going on over there? That's what I said. I didn't just run with that narrative and say, oh, there you go. Sony's dead, guys. PlayStation's over. And then we come to this email. See, that's why I'm laughing at this email today, because it's like, I knew it. Like, I knew that's what Sony was. I knew that's how they felt on the inside. It was too obvious. You know? It should have been more obvious to me and to everybody else. I don't get it, man. I don't get it. Indiana Jones, Hellblade 2, Starfield, Fable. If they get Activision, Sony's not going to be able to sleep on their first place lead anymore. Sony can't sleep on their first place lead right now. They can't sleep on their lead right now. That showcase that Microsoft just put on, that's more than enough. All right, let me get to these super chats. The Furious, you're saying recurring argument is buying and permanently blocking a whole publisher for PlayStation isn't as bad as a singular exclusive like Final Fantasy VII. How? Infuriating and illogical. So, The Furious, if I'm reading what you're saying correctly, you're basically saying that the I'm assuming, again, if I'm reading what you're saying correctly, you are saying that these two things are simply not the same and they're not as bad as one another. Because that's how I see it. And this is a big factor in all of this, that so many people, they don't care to look deeper into it. They don't care about the nuance and the importance of that nuance and the details. But yes, that there is a major, major difference between Sony going to say, I don't know, Konami, and saying, hey, Konami, we would like to strike an exclusivity deal with you with one of your games. And Konami says, okay, what about Silent Hill 2 Remake? And Sony says, sounds good. Let's do it. Okay? Some people are going to be mad and be like, oh, God, Sony money had it a third-party exclusive, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay. And then you're going to get people that are going to then paint Sony as, wow, they are ruining this industry. Like, Sony's practices are absolutely disgusting and vile. Wow. Right? But what these people won't tell you is that, hey, just so you know, Microsoft can do that exact same thing for any other game coming from... Like, Microsoft could have, if they wanted to, secure Metal Gear Solid as an exclusive for Xbox. But do you know why they don't want to? Well, because they don't want to spend the money. And that's all it comes down to. They just don't want to spend the money. It's not because they can't afford it. It's not because Sony made it too hard for them. No, it's because they don't want it. That's why. But that's the reality. Konami is still an independent publisher. And just because Sony has one exclusivity deal with Silent Hill 2 Remake doesn't stop Microsoft from pursuing Konami and saying, you know what, let's do a deal of our own. Let's make something happen. But you know, when Microsoft decides to buy an entire publisher, guess what? When they buy that publisher, no one's ever making any deals with them ever again. Period. End of discussion. Off the table permanently. And so, yes, people who are trying to make those arguments that Sony's third-party exclusivity deals are no different than Microsoft buying publishers, you're just objectively wrong. You're just wrong. They're completely different. And so, what I'm beginning to think is that the one thing Sony might actually be worried about is that right there. Is that, hey, you know, like we know Call of Duty's still going to come to our platform at least, but we can no longer make any deals with Activision ever again. Nothing. It's off the table. Marketing, bonuses, everything. Timed exclusivity, it's all gone. Saying how many big third-party deals does Microsoft get compared to PlayStation? Can Microsoft get GTA or Cyberpunk on Game Pass Day 1? Yes, they can. Yes. The answer to that is yes. The only thing they have to do is spend the money. But that's the thing, man, is, well, I see somebody saying, I think you say in the chat, you think it's smart to buy a publisher. I agree. I'm not, it doesn't feel that great to say that, but I agree. Like, if you're talking logic here, logically speaking, it makes more sense for Microsoft to buy a publisher than to try to get Cyberpunk or GTA as a day one Game Pass game. Well, then again, hold on. I think a lot of people don't seem to understand how much money Microsoft is dumping into Activision. The assumption is that, like, has anybody thought of this? Has anybody taken a second to think, what if Microsoft is making the biggest mistake in Xbox's history by buying Activision? No one talks about that angle. And I don't know why. I mean, the assumption is that Microsoft is going to be able to make a profit eventually off of this. That it like everybody's talking about as if it's guaranteed that this is going to work. But in reality, it's like you're talking about $68 billion. You know how long it's going to take, at least for the Xbox division specifically, to make that money back? There is no guarantee. You know, I have one of my buddies that talks to me about this, and he's always bringing that up. You know, he's like, dude, just so you know, like, this could destroy Xbox at the end of the day. Like, if this doesn't work out the way they think it is, and they just spent all that money, this could sink them. And, you know, I will admit, like, when I hear somebody bring that up, I'm like, well, I haven't really thought about that. And I don't think anybody actually has. I think, now, you're saying it's Microsoft. Keep in mind, I'm not saying it will sink Microsoft. It can't sink Microsoft. Microsoft as a corporation will be perfectly fine. What I mean by that is it could sink the Xbox division. Like, if this just doesn't, if they get Activision Blizzard and it's just they're pouring money, it's just more and more and more and more money is bleeding, you know, and it's just not making the type of money. I mean, here's another thing, right? Like, everybody who's talked about this, it's all about Call of Duty. What if Call of Duty just fucking tanks, dude? I know it's like a lot of what ifs, but this whole thing is a big what if. Nothing is guaranteed. But that's a what if I don't see anybody talking about. Somebody left a comment in my video yesterday and they were like, dude, Call of Duty fucking sucks, bro. Like, shit's on the downturn. And it's not, and it's just not, you know, it's not what it once was. People are getting fed up. There was a whole I wasn't even paying attention. I saw it trending because of a streamer and whatever, man. Like, but all I knew is that Activision and Call of Duty was getting hammered. It's like, you know, saying so many people are not buying MW3. Yeah, dude, it's wild. Like Microsoft or Activision is just getting ready to literally sell a game called MW3, and it's just literally DLC for MW2. That's all it is. Saying Nick Merckx, yeah. I didn't pay attention to the situation. Honestly, I was kind of out of the loop, but I saw a bunch of crazy shit trending. I'm like, you know what? I don't play Call of Duty. I don't fucking care, bro. I don't care. I'm just, I'm just glad to see that, Call of Duty. I don't get it, man. All right, let me make sure I get to these super chats. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry to keep you waiting because I just want to keep ranting. Brandon White, you're saying Phil Spencer said they bought Bethesda because Sony was trying to make Starfield exclusive. Any comment? They could have I was about to say they could have outbid them, but I guess they did, didn't they? I can't. You know what, Brandon White? My answer to that is, well, there you go, Microsoft. You said, you turned around and you said, you know what, Sony, F you. Can't blame them. Can't blame them. You know? That's the way it goes. This is why I'm saying, like, and that, that's where I turn and I look at Sony. It's like, sorry. You tried to employ your tactic, which is, hey, we're going to pay an exorbitant amount of money. We're going to try to make Starfield exclusive. And then Microsoft was like, not this time. And I can't, like I told you, man, I do not see anything wrong with Microsoft acquiring Bethesda. I don't. I've been saying that from the start. I remember from the very first day that I reported on that, when I made my very first video, when it was announced that Microsoft was in talks to acquire Bethesda. The only thing that pissed me off about the way Microsoft handled it is how they were just like double speaking when it comes to whether or not things were going to be exclusive. Like, that pissed me off because it's like, just please tell people what you're doing, because you know what you're doing. And that was annoying. But I've always said that, like, I think Bethesda, it's a bit extreme, but it makes sense. Like, it makes sense. Like, that is an acquisition that I can see why Microsoft would say this could really benefit us. This could really make us a serious competitor now. And I always thought, like, yeah, dude, they have a lot of IP. They have a lot of, mind share with their, big RPGs and whatnot. Like, yeah, that could work wonders for the Xbox brand. It's really when Microsoft then decided, okay, but we also need Activision Blizzard. And it's like, oh, so that's what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like, it became clear that, like, this wasn't actually about competing. It wasn't. And that's the big thing that this still hinges on, is there are still people convinced that the only way Microsoft can compete is by having Activision Blizzard. And that is just, as far as I'm concerned, that is simply not true at all. Like, Microsoft does not need Activision Blizzard to compete. At the very least, we should at least see how Starfield pans out, how future Bethesda games on top of the newly announced Xbox games. Let's see what they do first before we come to that conclusion. I could be wrong, but my gut tells me that based off of the way people are acting after that Xbox showcase, yeah, I don't think they need Activision Blizzard to compete. And I think they know that as well. I think they know that as well. And this is where I don't trust Microsoft. Like, I'm supposed to believe Microsoft when they say, like, well, Sony makes it really hard for Xbox to survive, so, we should be allowed to have Activision Blizzard. It's like, dude, what are you talking about? Like Starfield has utterly dominated the conversation for, like, the past month, basically, or 3 weeks. That's all. That, you know what I mean? Like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't get it. Like, everybody's basically just talking about how poor Sony's show was and how great yours was. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean you need Activision? Because from where I'm sitting, The only thing that getting Activision would do is make it so that you just went from being a viable competitor to, well, now you're potentially going to fucking dominate just like that, you know? And it's like, well, I guess, sure, why not? If you're if you're $1 trillion corporation, you can afford it. Why not? I don't blame them. And that's, I think that's where people always confuse my take, where they think that I'm angry at Microsoft for doing what they're doing, but I'm really not. Like, I'm really not. I totally get it. I would do the same thing, again, if I was in charge of Microsoft. Probably. You know, like if Activision was selling and my higher up was like, go ahead, you can make a play, man. Make a bid. Be like, oh, fuck, all right, yeah, sure. We could win. This could help us win. Yeah, I would do that. My problem is with the bullshit surrounding it. That's my problem. That's what frustrates me, is people continue to talk about it in such disingenuous ways. And granted, you could make the argument that both Sony and Microsoft are the two entities talking about it in the most disingenuous ways. And that is where things get really annoying. So, Brandon White, to answer your question, man, well, my comment on that is, if Microsoft saw that Sony was trying to secure Starfield as an exclusive, I could see why they were like, you know what? Time to make a move. I get it, man. Adam, you're saying, why Xbox fans don't talk that Activision was about to take Call of Duty off of Xbox because they don't buy it. That confirms that they don't buy games. So yeah, that's actually something we do need to talk about really quickly. Why? I thought I had it. Yeah, check this out. Activision CEO Bobby Kotick has said that the publisher had no intent to put Call of Duty on the Xbox Series X and S if Microsoft disagreed with their new revenue share deal. That's what Microsoft's corporate vice president Sarah Bond said during her testimony in the ongoing case between the FTC and Microsoft/Activision Blizzard yesterday. According to Bond, Kotick demanded a higher than standard revenue share for Call of Duty on Xbox. Apparently, the regular split is 70-30, while the Activision CEO demanded an 80-20 share to put the shooting franchise on Microsoft's console. If we did not move beyond standard revenue share that Bobby Kotick asked for, and he intended not to place Call of Duty on Xbox. This is what Sarah Bond claimed. So it says Microsoft's corporate VP added, it was clear that Call of Duty would be on PS5, and that would not have been good if it was not also on Xbox if it was launching at the same time. So again, man, it's once again, man, it's Microsoft coming out here playing the victim card because of their own failures. Their own failures, bro. Hellbound 1981 and Corey Landiga both coming in with a double whammy here. We got Hellbound with a 5 membership gift he's dropping, and then Corey follows that up with another one. That's another 6. That brings us up to 18 on the day, guys. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that, guys. Let's get some W's in the chat. Let's get a Keanu going. Let's get a crazy Arnold. Clearly, you can tell I'm worked up today. I swear, the days where I work out in the morning, I feel like my streams have much more energy. I try to work out in the morning more often, but thank you guys so much. I really appreciate that support. Still keeping that membership train going. Hellbound's been putting in a lot of work lately too. Appreciate that, dude. The community loves you guys. I love you guys. But isn't that crazy to you? Like, this is what's wild to me, is it's like, why are we supposed to feel bad for Microsoft here? What? Because if anything, it just goes to show how shitty Activision is, man. You know? You're saying MBG, that's not an Xbox failure. That's Bobby Kotick extorting them for more money. But yeah, why would he do that though? Well, I just said that. Like, it just goes to show how shitty Activision is, right? But then again, Bobby Kotick did that because he's not stupid, man. He's like, Microsoft is way more powerful than Activision is, and they have way more money. They have way more money than Activision has. And they're selling their console. It's just not selling, man. Like, it's not looking good. So they're like, let's just get more money out of these guys. And Microsoft, once again, not willing to pay it, or at least they didn't want to pay it. least you can't blame them for that. We got Herpy Derps. Herpy Derps coming in, dropping a 5-bomb, bro. Herpy Derps. Love the name, bro. Always love the name. Let's get some W's in the chat for Herpy Derps. I'll give you a little Mark Cerny there because we were talking about teraflops earlier. That brings us up to 23 on the day, almost crushing our goal. Who wants to do it? Who wants to get us over the 25 mark? Really appreciate that support, guys. Thank you so much for that. My whole thing with this, though, is like, I don't blame Microsoft for being frustrated. I think it's justifiable that Microsoft is frustrated. Like, what? That's not fair. Why do we have to pay more money? We have to give you more money for the, and it's a reflection, again, of like, dude, we want more money from you because we could get it. Like, you guys have your company, it makes more than enough money, and your console's not selling well, and less people buy the game. Less people buy the game on your platform, and we're expected to keep parity and optimize and everything else. You know what I mean? And it's just like, I'm not justifying Activision's behavior because I do think that's a shitty thing, but I'm just saying it's like, bro, just pay it. It's Call of Duty. Like, what are you going to say? No? You could say no. That's just the way. That's how these business people work, man. They're sharks. They're absolute sharks. And we got Jay Pierce coming in. Jay Pierce gifting another membership, bro. Let's get some W's in the chat for Jay. Thank you, Jay. Thank you so much for that, man. That brings us up to 24. We're now one away from hitting the goal today. Love to see it, dude. Saying bad business practice, dude. I'm not saying it's a good business practice. Let's get that straight. You're saying they made it 80-20 for Sony 2, bro? I did see people mentioning that. And I don't know if that's mentioned in the article. Let me take a look. And Herpy Derps does it. Herpy Derps comes in. And he gets us to the 25 mark. We did it, guys. We hit 25 members today. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to update the member goal really quick. And I'm going to get to the rest of these super chats. Really appreciate the support. There we go. Awesome community we have here. Thank you guys for the support. Herpy Derps, taking it home. Give you another, I'll give you a little membership train there. There you go. Saying MBG bro talking about Xbox ABK instead of playing Final Fantasy 16. Like, dude, do you think I'm here all day? Come on, man. What do you think I've been doing this whole time? You think I'm not playing? Dude, I got my copy of Final Fantasy 16 right there, bro. Game's incredible. I'm looking for, dude, when I'm done this stream, bro, that's what I'm chilling. I'm hoping to chill for the day, play some more Final Fantasy. But yeah, this is the relevant thing that's happening right now. It's not that Final Fantasy 16 isn't relevant. I'm going to be talking more about it. I just need more time with it. They try so hard, man. They try so hard to find anything. Like it's just like such a even the arguments that they're beginning to construct don't make sense. Imagine talking about this stuff when you're not playing Final Fantasy 16. Like, bro, the longest my stream will be at the absolute peak is like 4 hours today. Okay, it's 24 hours in a day, bro. Damn. I shouldn't have to explain that to people, but they just, I guess they don't know. All right, let me see. So yeah, actually, I do want to mention that really quick before reading the next super chat. Apparently, I got to look a little deeper into it. It's not mentioned in the article, but I've seen multiple people basically posting that, yeah, Sony apparently also had to pay that 80-20 as well, as far as I'm aware. And if anything, that's just, if that's the case, it's just Bobby Kotick basically leveraging the brand power of Call of Duty. Because he knows neither Sony nor Microsoft are going to say, we don't need Call of Duty. We're not going to agree to that. No, he knows they will agree to it. HAA is saying, anyone know when the performance patches for Final Fantasy 16 will release? I'm not sure. There's no ETA on that. I'll let you guys know when we get information on it. All right, let me see. Dan Demand saying, my only gripe with Xbox using the console wars argument is that they're no longer on consoles. That's why those console numbers reflect that. People are on Xbox through PC/TVs. Yeah, that's what's so weird to me about this, is the fact that Microsoft is trying to take this angle. Like, it's, again, it doesn't make sense. You have to see through the bullshit. Oh yeah, we lost the console war. Like, then why are you selling a console? That's the question. Why are you selling a console? Oh, well, we just want to have the option. Okay, why are you making games exclusive? You see what I'm saying? It all leads back to the same root. And they are just doing everything they can, man. There's Phil Spencer and all these guys, they're saying anything they can to try to just skirt around it. You didn't lose the console war because you're still in it. You're still in it. Yeah, we can all make jokes and say, well, Xbox sucks and no one's buying Xboxes and blah, blah, blah. But the reality is, like, how many Xbox series consoles have been sold so far? What, like 21 million or something? 25 million? Like, does that not count for anything? Like, I'm not saying that's the biggest success or like, holy shit, and of course they might be in third place, but dude, like, that's still a significant amount, like a very significant amount. That's a significant amount of people buying Xbox consoles. And I'm not trying to make an argument for Microsoft that, oh, your console's selling just fine. No, but you know what I do believe wholeheartedly? Here's what I believe wholeheartedly. Hey, you got Starfield. You paid for it. You bought it. You own it. You made it exclusive. You got a shit ton of other games lined up. People are happy, Microsoft. People are happy about Microsoft's lineup for the first time. I don't even know how long. You're going to sell consoles now. Like Starfield and these games, they're going to sell consoles. They might not sell as many as PlayStation, but you will sell enough, certainly. No doubt about that. The argument doesn't make sense. They are just desperate. Microsoft is absolutely on their hands and knees right now, doing anything they can to get this deal through. You want to know why Microsoft lost the console war? Lost the console war? Because they went into the Xbox One generation saying, we're going to sell 200 million units. What does that sound like to you? You know what that sounds like to me? That sounds like arrogance. That sounds like being way overconfident. Like, dude, the Xbox 360 sold very well and did very well. But let's just, maybe strive for like 80 to 100 million. It's because it's never enough for Microsoft, dude. So I hear what you're saying, Dan the Man. It's and let's just I want to add one more thing to this before I move to the next super chat. We also cannot discount the decisions that Microsoft themselves made throughout the years that have hindered their own console sales. And the biggest and I just think most foolish decision they made, like, I understand that Phil was like, oh, we lost the most important generation there was to lose with the Xbox One. But what bothers me about that is, like, but you didn't have to lose it, Like, you could have just, I'm telling you, man, I said it so many times during the Xbox, towards the tail end of the Xbox One generation. I was like, just do what Sony's doing. Just at least try. If you at least try, I think it just might work out. And they didn't, man. They just didn't. At least not in the way that they should have. Instead they I don't know what they did, man. They bet on the wrong horse over and over and over and over again. And it was just so obvious at some point. Like, you know what? I'm just going to cut to the chase here. The reason why Microsoft could not make a comeback even remotely during the Xbox One generation, and I'm just going to say it, and I know Xbox fans, they're going to lose their shit when I say this, but it's fucking true. Phil Spencer was the wrong person for the job. Fact. People look back at the Xbox One generation, and you know what they say? I'm not even kidding. People will tell you, hey, Don Matrick, he fucked like almost everything up. But you know the one thing he didn't fuck up? And again, it wasn't enough to save his job or save Xbox, but you know the one thing he didn't fuck up? He had a good lineup of games. Like, they had a good launch lineup, and their E3 was pretty damn good too. So it was almost like you just need somebody in there who knows how to do two things. One, have a good lineup of video games and be able to identify like what good games are and like what a good lineup is and what talented developer, like just have a general sense of talent, right? Don Matrick, to some degree, seemingly had that. He just seemed to also be way up in La La Land somewhere, thinking that people want to connect and all that stuff. And I get, like, I'm not saying Phil Spencer's job was easy because he inherited an absolute shit show, but I need to know what Phil Spencer has done for Xbox other than just convince Microsoft to spend billions of dollars. I need to know, on a management level, him putting Matt Booty in charge of Xbox's first party prior to this showcase, a whole decade. What have they done? They spent 10 years fucking up, man. That's what they did. And the way that they undid that was by they spend money. And that's fine. That's a viable way to fix your problem. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But I'm just trying to prove a point that, like, the arguments they are trying so hard to convince people that they didn't fuck it up themselves. And this is what truly frustrates me about all this nonsense right now, is that Microsoft has no one to blame but themselves. Sony didn't kill Xbox. Xbox killed Xbox. End of fucking story. Period. It's over. It was over. And the only reason Xbox isn't dead is because, again, money. Not because of Phil Spencer's genius. I mean, you could argue the greatest thing that Phil Spencer was able to do is his power of persuasion. He was able to persuade the CEO of Microsoft to not axe the Xbox brand and instead invest somehow like $75 billion into it. I don't know how you make that happen, but he did it. That's what Phil Spencer's good at. Persuasion. Talking. You don't see the vision. That's your problem, MBG. I see the vision. I understand the vision. I get it. And I understand that Phil Spencer has a vision and whatnot, but I just think to me, it's just sad that it's one thing if you have a vision and you want to execute on it. It's another thing when you're coming out here and basically trying to point the finger at your competitors and playing the victim act. You know, it's a joke, man. It's all a joke. And that's just the way it is. Microsoft, they have no one to blame but themselves. Roshdom, you're saying you're all over the place, MBG. Come on. Well, okay. Well, then let me tighten it up a little bit here, all right? Listen, that's the most important thing I could say. It is not Sony's fault that Microsoft screwed up with the Xbox One. It's not. And Sony shouldn't have to be the one that Microsoft is pointing the finger at right now because of their own failure. And I get it, like, they're going to have to do that, but my problem isn't even really with Microsoft doing it. My problem is with people not accepting that. You know? Like, my problem is with people not accepting that, listen, Sony just did what any company in their shoes would do. They capitalized on the mistakes, on the very obvious mistakes that their main competitor was making. And they got ahead because of it. You know? Like, Sony doesn't care about Microsoft, and Microsoft doesn't care about Sony. And I just think it's so bizarre watching this whole thing unfold, where these companies, as well as people who are following these events unfold, they are trying to construct these arguments that are injecting things like morals and, you know, like what's right and what's wrong. But it's like, objectively speaking, we already saw what's right and what's wrong. It happened right in front of us. You know, like that's all it is. Objectively speaking, like, that's what we saw. We know what's right in the gaming industry. What's right is make good games. And if you make a console, give people a reason to go buy it. That's all it is, you know? I don't see what's wrong with that. But I don't know. Microsoft they've given up, man. They've given up with the console, and it's all about that vision now. That vision of, we're looking beyond the console. We're going to phones and toasters and ovens and you know, everything else. Fabrice Paul, you're saying your CEO caught lying in front of a judge. How is it good? Microsoft is killing the FTC right now. The only thing matter is fact. I think you're saying the only thing that matters is facts, and Microsoft have them. See, Fabrice, that's my problem with that type of attitude, where it's like, you think you just think everything Microsoft's saying is just fact. It's just fact. There's no chance that Microsoft could be exaggerating or even lying themselves, or just straight up bullshitting, right? Like, just straight up being like, oh yeah, sure, yeah, we'll just say this thing, even though it's not what we actually think or believe or whatever. We'll just say it. You know, like, look, man, I'm not saying at what point did I say Jim Lion Ryan is a good thing? I never said that. No, I would have preferred if the first thing Jim Ryan did when Microsoft announced they were acquiring Activision Blizzard was put this email out and let everybody know how the fuck he really feels. That I would have respected. That I would have said, well, good on you. Sticking to your guns. Being honest. There you go. That's not what he did. He did lie. Sony lied. I understand why they lied. I'm not just because I understand it doesn't mean it's justified. The fact of the matter is this. As much as I love Sony and as much as I love PlayStation, the way that they behaved during this whole thing is just cringe, bro. You know? Like, some of the shit that they've said is utterly ridiculous. And I've just been eager for it to stop. People wonder why, like, MBG, why were you so hyped for the PlayStation Showcase? I was so hyped for the PlayStation Showcase because I was pretty sure that, like, hey, you know, this is where it ends, man. Like, Sony's done putting on this act, wearing that, you know, crying mask. They're actually going to, you know, come out and fucking do what we know that they want to do, which is flex on the competition and try to, you know, be number one and whatever. Do the best they can. But yeah, Jim Ryan, he lied. Sony lied. Microsoft's lying. Microsoft's still lying. It's all it is, man. It's just one giant throne of lies between them all. Microsoft, we lost the console war, boo-hoo, but behind closed doors, they're trying to take Sony out of business. I mean, exactly, that's what I'm saying, man. Yeah, corporations don't lie. Damn right they don't. Corporations never lie. Businessmen don't lie, bro. Come on, we all know that. Jay Pierce, you're saying Xbox is so pro-consumer, but they're raising their prices 8 to 10%, LMAO. Dude, no one gives a fuck. No one cares. This is what I'm talking about. Like, look, it doesn't bother me that much because it's like, I didn't think it was a big deal when Sony raised the price of the PS5. Like everybody was losing their shit and acting like, oh my God, they raised the price of the PS5. Like, yeah, it's called inflation and they want to make a profit. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I sympathize. I do. Like, I'm a consumer as well. And I said, I think Sony should just eat the cost. That would be the smart thing to do from my perspective as a consumer. But then again, who the fuck cares about my perspective as a consumer? I'm not in charge of Sony. If Sony decides we have to raise the price of the PS5 or we're going to be in, we're going to lose a lot of money, then they got to do what they got to do. And then everybody said, oh, Microsoft would never do such a thing. Microsoft is in my corner and they're pro-consumer. They would never raise the price. And then they just fucking raise the price. Not just of their consoles, but of Game Pass as well. And no one cares. Literally no one cares. And that's fine. You shouldn't care because this is business. And that's exactly what's going to happen time and time again. Corporations will make adjustments. The only thing, once again, that actually makes me frustrated is all of the morons that spend months peddling nonsense bullshit narratives defending a corporation. Like, please get your head out of your ass and realize that Microsoft is not your friend. They want your money. It's as simple as that. First fucking $70 game Microsoft tries to sell you is Redfall. Okay? So I don't want to hear this shit. I want to hear this pro-consumer bullshit. And Redfall isn't even worth $10. All right, let me see. DJ Bruntmeyer saying Microsoft makes a hiss about exclusive games, but buy studios to have better exclusive games. You can't make it up, man. You can't make it up. You're exactly right. That Microsoft, like I said, people need to just simply understand Microsoft wants to have their cake and eat it too, just like every corporation. Like Sony wants to have their cake and eat it too. Sony wants to have a premium price console, and they want to have not just 10, but maybe 15 or even more million in sales for their $70 games. And they want to have their services and whatnot. And they want to charge whatever price they want, you know what I mean? And they want you to pay the $10 upgrade. And they just want more money. Oh, that's what they want. They want more money. That's it. People need to just realize that's all it is, man. Exclusivity, non-exclusivity. Stop listening to the nonsense. Microsoft absolutely loves exclusives, bro. They love exclusives. They love exclusives probably even more than Sony does at this point. They do. And that's fine. Embrace it, Microsoft. Flex that shit. That's what your fan base wants you to do. Turns out that's what's going to get people to go buy your product. And buy Game Pass, and buy a console, and buy your games. Get exclusives. But just stop whining about Sony having exclusives too. The floodgates are open, man. Microsoft went over Sony's head, and they said, we're going to outspend you. We're going to go 10 steps further. We're not just going to secure third-party exclusives. We're going to buy third-party publishers. Okay, well then the floodgates are open. Anything goes now. It's a fucking free-for-all out here. Xbox's business doesn't revolve around keeping stuff away from PlayStation. Oh, I didn't know that. So that must explain why they're keeping stuff from PlayStation. Ah, I get it now. The Furious, you're saying, oh my God, LOL, FTC bringing out Phil's exclusive hypocrisy. Oh, did they really? Good. Outspending should be allowed, MBG. I agree to a certain extent. I agree. Like, dude, listen, if Sony was a $2.6 trillion company and Sony just started buying publisher after publisher after publisher, yeah, I would step back and I would say, you know what? I'm pretty sure they're trying to create a monopoly. Like, I'm pretty sure they just want total domination. Yeah. So I would not be opposed to, regulation at a certain degree. Now, look, I'm not saying that regulation needs to occur right now with ABK. If I had to lean one way or the other, I obviously lean towards, you know what? Fuck it. Like, I hope it gets blocked. Let Microsoft compete with what they have, because I'm pretty sure they can. Like, I'm pretty sure they can. Okay? But this idea that companies should just completely be allowed to just go hog wild, like that's the worst case scenario. Like regulation at a certain point is needed to keep these, mega corporations in check, because if they're not kept in check, they will completely destroy markets. They will lay waste to markets, and why wouldn't they? You know what I mean? Why wouldn't they? So I'm not disagreeing with you. I just think there has to be a balance, and right now, simply put, it's as simple as this. There needs to be a balance, and I think Microsoft is very clearly, with Activision Blizzard, leaning too far in one direction. They're leaning too far in one direction. Like, it's about to become off balance, in my opinion. At least there's a really good chance it's going to become off balance. And we got Fred Vance coming in, dropping a 10 bomb. Bro, Fred coming out of nowhere. Guys, let's get some W's in the chat for Fred. Love to see it, dude. Fred, I think I saw you came in here earlier. I didn't get to your chat yet. I think you were asking, what did you miss? Just a bunch of ranting, dude. Just a bunch of ranting, as always. But I thank you so much, man. Fred just brought us up to 35 members on the day. Guys, if you are in the chat, if you do not have a membership, click on Fred's icon at the top and double check that you are opted in to receive free membership gifts when they are distributed. Haven't been saying that enough, but thank you so much for that, Fred. Fred Vance coming in, doing some work for this community once again. Love to see it, dude. Really appreciate the support, bud. Let me see here. Zombie Dragon, you're saying, let's be honest. Xbox One survive. Where long does Microsoft, or how long does Microsoft want it to survive? Xbox is like 1% of Microsoft's profits. They'll be fine. Yeah, well, that's the thing, man, is we're talking about business, and we're talking about bottom lines, and we're talking about profit margins, and the harsh truth for Microsoft is that even though Microsoft is the parent company of Xbox, and they're totally fine, it's like, look, that doesn't mean they don't want Xbox to be profitable. Like, Microsoft expects any division underneath them to make a lot of money and a lot of profit. That needs to be understood. Microsoft as a $2.6 trillion corporation, how do you think they became a $2.6 trillion corporation? It's certainly not by having these little side projects that don't make money. They pursue avenues that they truly believe will be massive, massive, massive money makers and profit drivers. And, to be honest, gaming, when you look at it through that lens, it becomes much more understandable why Microsoft is on the path that they're on, because the path that they're on, again, assuming nothing catastrophic happens and the numbers work out, it could eventually lead to that. And that's why they're taking a much, Jim Ryan wasn't wrong in his email when he said Microsoft is thinking bigger than exclusivity. They are. But it's kind of weird because they're still doing exclusivity. I don't entirely understand that, but yeah, you're not wrong. The Xbox can survive no matter what. It's just Microsoft doesn't want that. You're saying, bro, the FTC is getting destroyed in there. I bet you they are. I've been following what's been going on, and yeah, the FTC, they're not looking too great. They're not looking too great right now, man. I'm just going to check really quick to see if there's any updates. I'll go check Tom Warren one more time. Phil Spencer will not confirm the Elder Scrolls 6 is an Xbox exclusive. Quote, it's difficult for us to nail down. Bullshit. Come on, man. See, this is what I'm talking about. Like, how is it? Like, come on. The translation, yeah, it's going to be fucking exclusive, but we're not telling you that shit right now. Come on. Just say it, Phil. Just say it. Stop acting. This is what I'm talking about. Stop with the nice guy act. Stop with the we don't know act. You know damn well the Elder Scrolls 6 is exclusive. Unless, hold on. You know what I have seen some people say? This would be the craziest turn of events. Like, this would truly be like oh, wow, okay. The console wars truly are officially over. People have been saying that, dude, Microsoft is seriously preparing to become a third-party publisher. And I'm like, I'm not convinced by that. Like, I don't believe that. I really don't. I just don't believe that. But sometimes, like, when I'm looking at the stuff they're saying, I'm like, that it maybe I don't believe it, but I could see it being a possibility. But I don't think so, man. Because you have to, like, the idea of Microsoft becoming a third-party publisher means that they really don't care about Game Pass either, and that's not going to happen. You know what I mean? You're saying you believe that's eventually what will happen? Maybe eventually it could, like way, way, way down the line, but I don't think so. Top Shotta, you're saying Phil Spencer claimed Sony forced them to buy Bethesda because of Sony's aggressive exclusive deals with Bethesda. I love it, dude. They forced us. They made us do it. They made us buy them and make all their games exclusive. Like, dude, come on. I mean, it's the wording, man. It's the wording that gets me. Like, let me translate it. Microsoft wasn't forced to do anything. Microsoft decided that they got tired of Sony's exclusivity practices and they wanted to buy a publisher and make sure that Sony, like I said, man, every time one of the biggest benefits Microsoft gets from buying a publisher is knowing Sony can never make another deal with them again. Fred, you're saying MBG, I still don't see how Microsoft can't compete when laying off their own staff and constantly keep hiring and firing contractors. It's because it's all about trimming the fat, man. That's why I've tried to explain to people that it's not that Microsoft can't compete. They can. It's just that they're right now, I think, is the perfect example. Like this moment right now, I think, is the best possible example we could ever ask for to really show you what Microsoft truly wants. And Microsoft does not want competition. I know that there are a bunch of loyal fanboys all over Twitter and the internet saying that that's what Microsoft's doing. Just let them compete, blah, blah, blah. They don't realize that you are out here vouching for a multi-trillion-dollar corporation that you have no idea what their plans are. You have no idea what their intentions actually are. You're just listening to what they're telling you and you're running with it and you're fighting people and you're not making any sense. The reality is right now, again, you look at Microsoft's position, you look at their showcase, you look at the amount of studios they have, you look at the IP they have, you look at the interest in their upcoming games. You look at the fact that they're doing interviews where they're bragging about how much money Xbox is making, how profitable Xbox is. Oh, and on top of that, how many more games they haven't even yet revealed. And yet they are simultaneously coming out here and playing the victim card and saying that we can't compete. We need Activision to compete. No, they do not. Microsoft is in a perfect position right now to actually genuinely compete with Sony. They're not looking to compete. They're looking to win. They're looking to dominate. They're looking to, just as they said in 2019, put Sony out of business. Now, do we believe that Sony will be put out of business? Hell no. Sony's not going to go down that easy. Microsoft's going to have to do a lot more than just buy Activision Blizzard to put PlayStation out of business. But make no mistake, the long-term play here, and this is where I'm so sick and fucking tired of seeing these fucking dumbasses, frankly, that's what they are, across the internet, that are out here cheering on a absolute titan of a corporation like Microsoft, making it sound like, yeah, they are the underdog. Like, no, they are not. And you are an absolute fool for thinking that. And it's fine. Like, I know that there are a lot of people who they're just like straight up chaos, like they're just like, I want to see it burn. Like, let them go all the way. It's like, I get it, man. Like, I get it. Like if you don't have a horse in this race, then sure, like fucking sit back, watch the show, eat some popcorn, and and, enjoy yourself. Jesus, dude. Thanks for visiting the channel, though, bro. Thanks for the view. I swear, man, these guys. Let me see here. Perfect Image, you're saying, hey, bro, according to Reno, 10 studios were waiting on Sony buys WB, and no matter what, Call of Duty goes to Xbox. I don't care because Call of Duty, it's not the same since PlayStation 3. I like your rants. Well, I appreciate that, Perfect Image. Call of Duty is not going to go exclusive to Xbox anytime soon. I think in the long run, Sony would, or Microsoft would make Call of Duty exclusive in the long run. I think if you're talking like 12, 15 years from now, Microsoft is like, Xbox is making hand over fist money. Game Pass is booming. Yeah, I could see them basically being like, we don't have to put this anywhere else. We could just keep this here. I could see that. I could absolutely see that. But I when it comes this whole thing with Sony and WB, I think people need to relax on that because I looked into that. They're not pursuing WB for like gaming property or anything like that. I think it's just music rights. So I did see some people thinking that, oh, maybe they're going to get like some WB studios. Nothing like that. As far as I'm aware, it's just music rights. So very underwhelming. And Adam, you're saying when the FTC shows the PS5 to the judge, what's that? FTC Exhibit A, Your Honor, a console that actually sells games. Savage. I feel like that would work against the FTC, though. I think that works against the FTC's argument. But yeah, man, this is where you continue to watch this stuff unfold. Let me see what else is going on here. I'm trying to find this one guy. He's been covering it really well, like Steven something. I have him quote tweeted here. Here we go. Let me see what he's been tweeting about this today. If there's anything else I may have missed. All right, hold on. We have a couple things here. He's covering this really well. So this chunk of testimony appears intended to negate Microsoft's claim that after buying Mojang, I don't even know how you say it, it offered Minecraft with full parity across all platforms, which it says it will do with Call of Duty. The FTC is trying to prove that Microsoft didn't always do or want to do that. Regarding the PlayStation Now Minecraft thing that came up based on internal exchanges Phil Spencer had with Xbox executives with Fallout 76 coming to PlayStation Now, I was okay with that, but the exchange had been negative about putting Minecraft there. But no, Sony doesn't seem to have asked for it. Spencer asked a lot about ZeniMax exclusivity, internal chats about pursuing exclusives. Nothing really solid here. Phil Spencer saying PC/Xbox is case by case. Other platforms decided afterwards. Asked about the Elder Scrolls 6, saying it's too hard to understand what platforms will even be. We'll be talking about 5+ years away. Phil Spencer's fuzzy on whether he previously made a public statement saying it'd be Xbox only. Man. Phil Spencer was asked about ZeniMax / Machine Games Indiana Jones switching from multi-console to Xbox only. He mentions Disney-owned Spider-Man being PlayStation only and wanting a famous property tied to Xbox. Bro, dude, this is it's like literally watching a Twitter conversation like back and forth. It's like, well, how come it's okay for Indiana Jones to be Xbox exclusive? Well, Sony has Spider-Man exclusive. So like that's literally what's happening right now. On Elder Scrolls 6, notably, Phil Spencer said he didn't even know which Microsoft platforms it'd be on. Okay. Spencer says his testimony is not to pull Call of Duty from PlayStation. I would raise my hand. I will do whatever it takes. I'm making the commitment standing here. We will not pull Call of Duty from PlayStation. That doesn't quite seal it. Phil Spencer also testified that Xbox would never degrade the quality of any version of a game, especially the most popular version, COD on PlayStation, for example. Part of the antitrust issue here will be impacts of COD on Game Pass / xCloud. So, okay. Yeah, okay. And damn, we got Fred Vance dropping in again, bro. Fred, that's 20 today from Fred. Fred just dropped another 10 bomb, 10 memberships gifted. Holy shit, man. Thank you so much for that, Fred. I'll give you a Jim Ryan as well for that. Let's get some W's in the chat for Fred. That's 20 memberships from Fred today. That brings us up to 45 on the day. Damn. We are pretty damn close to hitting the 50 mark. Are we going to hit 50 today? That'd be incredible. Thank you guys so much for the continued support. Let me, just a little behind with it here. Let me make sure I get it up to where it actually is. And one more. So, yeah, thanks again, Fred. Doing some heavy lifting for the community again. And I have... Hold on. Did I miss it? No, I didn't miss a super chat. And damn, Fred Vance comes in with another 5. And then Hellbound 1981 drops another 5. Bringing it to 55 on the day. Hell yeah, guys. Hell yeah. Now, this membership train is not stopping today. 55 members on the day. Hellbound, Fred, thank you guys so much. Guys, gotta get some crazy Arnolds in there. Love to see it, dude. Really appreciate the continued support. As I've always said, we have a very generous community here, man. And you guys continue to prove that week after week after week. So thank you. Thank you for the fan funding. Really means a lot more than you know. Or maybe you do know. So thank you. MBG, what would you think about a COD game not being on the PlayStation 6? I mean, for me, I would care in the sense that I would want to see what that does for PlayStation. But personally, I don't think I would care. Like, the only Call of Duty developer I even remotely pay attention to anymore is Treyarch. And apparently Treyarch's game isn't coming until 2024. And I'm going to have to see what that game looks like. But I don't know, man. I'm just not into Call of Duty the way I used to be. I do want to say really quick, I did play the X-Defiant beta because everybody was saying that this is like a viable Call of Duty competitor. I got to tell you guys, I put a couple of hours into X-Defiant, and I think you can actually still play the X-Defiant beta. It's open right now on PS5. And let me just tell you real quick, it is absolutely a Call of Duty competitor in the sense that, dude, this is Call of Duty. Like, I was playing this, I'm like, this is literally Call of Duty between like 2007 and 2012. Like, that's what X-Defiant is. And it was so kind of weird because it was just weird playing Call of Duty, essentially. Like, classic Call of Duty, but on like Ubisoft maps and whatnot, and with like Ubisoft characters. It was very strange, but the more I played it, the more... You know what I think the big problem with X-Defiant is, though? And this is what I was kind of thinking about it. Hold on, let me fix this really quick. The big problem that I think X-Defiant is going to face, and the reason why I think it ultimately won't actually be like a true Call of Duty competitor, is simply because I don't see people deciding, I'm going to go play X-Defiant. I'm going to buy I'm going to play this over Call of Duty. And that is where I think the realization has kind of dawned on me that it just goes to show, like, you can make a Call of Duty competitor. And in some ways, dude, what I played in X-Defiant, not every way, but in some things they're doing with that game, it's actually like better than Call of Duty. Like, you could tell they went back to the roots of what made Call of Duty so good in the first place and so addicting. And it was that arcade-like feeling, you know? But it's not perfect. But it did make me realize that I just got this sense while playing it the whole time that I'm like, I don't think this is going to convince anybody who plays Call of Duty to just be done with Call of Duty. And the only reason for that is because of the Call of Duty name. You know, like, I think any Call of Duty player who plays X-Defiant is just going to be thinking to themselves like, well, this is I played this game back in 2007, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and I'm good. I'm going to go back to Call of Duty. And I think it does kind of like, I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. I will say though, that the more Call of Duty competitors, like competent Call of Duty competitors there are in the market, the more diminished Call of Duty is going to become. It's like chipping away at it basically a little bit. So we'll see, man. I just wanted to some people were asking me if I was going to play XDefiant. I did play it for a little bit. I just really wanted to try it. And I got to say, I was actually genuinely surprised. I was genuinely surprised how good XDefiant was, simply because like I wouldn't have expected a game like that from Ubisoft. I really wouldn't have. Like, if it makes me wonder if Sony is making a game similar to XDefiant. And if so, like if XDefiant, the one thing I want to add, this last thing, because I know this is just kind of a random side tangent about XDefiant, saying it's a bad name. It is kind of bad. The one other thing about it that you can just tell when playing is the production value. That's another reason, like, you kind of don't realize just how massive the production value of Call of Duty is year after year after year. Like, you kind of just get used to it until you play another first-person shooter that just doesn't have the same production value, because the gameplay can be great, everything about it can be great, but you could just tell, like, there's like way more money dumped into Call of Duty, justifiably so. And yeah, Call of Duty is a well-oiled machine. I will give it that, to a detriment, I think. But yeah, oh my God. Okay, so here's something I wanted to talk to you guys about. I don't actually have this listed as a topic in my title, but I'm glad I remembered. I'm glad I remembered. Okay, so there has been some talk about Bungie. And really quick, Carlos is saying, come on, MBG, you cheer on Sony all the time. I do, yeah. I do cheer on Sony all the time. But why do you think that is, Carlos? Like, why? I know people... I'm done even trying to argue. Sure, I'm a PlayStation fanboy. Fine. I'll embrace it. I'm a PlayStation fanboy. Whatever. But I know why I play on PlayStation. I know why I prefer PlayStation, And I really don't give a shit what other people think. Like, if people want to argue with me about, Sony's this and Sony's like, I don't care. Like, I'm happy, bro. Like, I just picked up Final Fantasy 16 after playing the demo on PS5. Shit's fucking lit. All right? I never use that term. Like, I know why I'm on PlayStation. Period. End of discussion. NBG Jim Ryan. Oh yeah, dude. Is it Jim Ryan I think he's testifying today too through video. Bro, come on, Jim. That's weak shit. Why is Jim Ryan going to be on a fucking screen, man? Like, why can't he show up in person? Breaking, NBG. The judge just made Phil Spencer swear under oath that he would not take COD out of PlayStation. It's pretty much a wrap. Well, yeah. I mean, that's going to count for something for sure. It's a pre-recorded video too. Oh my God. That's so funny, dude. Dude, that would be me. See, this is where me and Jim Ryan were similar. Like, Jim can't go into the courtroom because he'd lose control, man. Jim would lose control. He'd go crazy, ranting about Microsoft and cursing out Phil Spencer. He'd have to be escorted out of the courtroom. Saying Jim's too busy making money. Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. I don't know, man. Jim Ryan makes me laugh for some reason. Like, it's because he has this kind of like this just weird mystique around him. Like he's just, I don't know. He's this kind of old guy that's the head of this brand, this gaming brand, and he's always either saying like stuff that fans really want to hear, or he's saying the opposite and pissing people off. And you're saying Jim Ryan is a shady clown. That's why. A shady clown. That's funny, man. Jim Ryan, to me, the thing that eludes me about Jim Ryan Truly, and I guess this is kind of just the way it's always been. It hasn't always been this way with Sony, but the thing about Jim Ryan that I still can't quite figure out is like, does this guy actually understand? Like, does he really know, like, PlayStation, as in like what makes it tick and like what the fans like? Does he actually have an understanding of what the fans care about, or is he really just a businessman that, he really doesn't actually understand like gaming, and he's just reading like spreadsheets and listening to what people are telling him and just making decisions? You know what I mean? That's the one thing. Like, I'm not saying, I know Jim Ryan's probably not actually a gamer. I don't think Jim Ryan plays video games, but it's just this idea that it is difficult for me to fathom that somebody like Jim Ryan, where I think a lot of people don't know this about him, and I do, to me, this does certainly count for something. Jim Ryan has actually been with PlayStation since 1994, since it actually began. So he's literally been here from the very beginning, and he's worked his way all the way up. And this is what makes me think, like, how do you do that without actually understanding? Because a lot of people talk shit on Jim Ryan, like he doesn't know PlayStation and he doesn't understand, and so on and so forth. And I get that. Like, I get why people say that, but I'm like, how would you be part of the PlayStation brand for all that time, for nearly 30 years, and then make your way to the CEO position if you didn't actually understand? You know what I'm saying? And so, it does make me wonder, eventually Jim Ryan's no longer going to be the leader of PlayStation. And I do wonder if, like, what if the next person that becomes the CEO of PlayStation is like I don't know, just like a person out. I don't think it would be somebody outside of the company, but I don't know. Just like somebody totally random where it's like, like they've only been with the company for like a couple years or something like that. That would make me wonder. Like, would we prefer that? Would that be better or worse? Because like, somebody left this comment on my video yesterday, and I actually I agreed with them, because it's true. They said, I'm paraphrasing their comment, and a lot of people agreed with their comment, and they were like, everybody's always talking about how Sony's so anti-consumer, but then he went on to say, to me, Sony is the most pro-consumer because they just keep delivering great games that I want to play. And I'm like, well, damn. Yeah, like, no one's like, I can't argue with that. I'm like, you're right. I think that just basically kind of Jim Ryan acting like Steven Seagal. Oh, dude, I want to see Jim Ryan acting like Steven Seagal, dude. I want to see his Steven Seagal impression. But yeah, I'm just over here not quite understanding all the hate that PlayStation gets these days. Like, I understand the showcase wasn't everything it was supposed to be. I understand that maybe the first half of 2023 wasn't the best for PlayStation. They still delivered some stuff, but I'm just looking around and I'm like, well, they got Final Fantasy 16. I'm playing that now, and as far as I can tell, this game is awesome. And I'm going to talk more about it once I get deeper into it, but I'm really enjoying Final Fantasy 16, and they're closing out the year strong. I just don't feel like there's much I could actually complain about without trying to, if that makes sense. I mean, they're doing a good job with PlayStation Plus. They're doing a good job delivering single-player games still. Still the only complaint that I truly have for PlayStation at this point, like, I know people want to be like, yo, why don't you fucking tear Sony up? Why don't you tear Jim Ryan up for lying? And it's like, well, because I'm kind of glad he was lying. Like, I'm not happy that he lied. Like, of course, no one likes a liar. But it's just the fact that, like, I'm glad to know that Sony is not acting like a little bitch inside. I'm glad to know that Sony does care about Call of Duty, but not that fucking much. So in a way, it's like, I'm kind of relieved to know that Jim's true reaction to this whole situation is, Yeah, I would prefer it didn't happen, but we're going to be more than okay. We got our own shit cooking. Oh, that sounds like confidence to me. That sounds good to me. Let's see what you got cooking. You know, like, let's do it. That is the literal opposite. Jim Ryan's recording starts in court. I'll let our games do the talking. That's it. He just fucking goes away. There's no other. That's all he says in the courtroom. That's so funny, dude. I can't wait to when does Jim Ryan's thing start? Because I want to like see if I can react to that in real time. Did he go already? Is it his time? MBG question: if it was not for where PlayStation is now, do you think Jim Ryan would be a success? That's a great question, and I feel like it's an impossible question to ask or to answer. I mean, because like I don't want to give Jim Ryan too much credit because it is true that he inherited the success of the PlayStation 4 when he, took over. But I think as we've seen in the past, we do got to give Jim some credit though, because we have seen in the past how easy it is for new leadership to just wreck something, bro. Like even when it's at its highest point, just absolutely torch the whole thing and light it on fire and blow it up. And so I at least give Jim Ryan the credit that he didn't do that. He clearly at the very least understands that, okay, one of the things that worked really well for the PlayStation 4 are AAA single-player games and quality. This is what the fans want. We will keep giving that to them, or we will try. So I at least give him that. I feel like that's the least I can do, really. Because he could have, I don't know, man. He could have, saying he helped build the European fan base. That's true. Jim's testimony is sealed. Oh, what? Damn. Oh, man. That's so... It's going to leak, though, right? Surely it's going to have to leak. How could it not leak? I would love to know what Jim's testimony is going to sound like. Sorry, I'm just checking one other thing here real quick. Sorry, I'm trying to keep up with all the things that are coming out from this. Phil Spencer says that Sony was reluctant to send Microsoft PS5 dev kits, and they received them later, which has negatively impacted Minecraft development on PS5. Ah, okay. So, see, that's interesting to me because we just talked about that yesterday. Was it yesterday or the day? I think it was yesterday. Where, yeah, I know. I got to lower my screen brightness. It is insane. I know. I don't know how I tolerate it. Yeah, I think it's what keeps me awake, man. Like, I got that bright white light in my eyes, and it's just like, I'm awake, Jim is an AI. I love that. Dude, that is the best. Yes. That is the best one right there. Jim Ryan isn't actually real. He's an AI. That's the fucking best. That's what it is for me now. Jim Ryan's not a real person. He's an AI. There we go. Hellbound he did it. Hellbound cracked the code, man. No wonder why he's so calculated. He's so cold and calculated. That screen brightness was brighter than your effing window. I love it, dude. I love it. But yeah, that's actually pretty that's pretty good information to be getting from Phil Spencer, because I think some people were a little confused yesterday why Jim Ryan said that if the Activision Blizzard deal goes through and Microsoft gets them, we're not going to send PlayStation 6 dev kits over to Activision. And a lot of people, again, as they do, they jump on these things and they're like, wow, Sony is that petty. Sony's just going to be shooting themselves in the foot. And it's like, I don't think you understand that they're not. It's not that they don't want to send them dev kits. It's that it's a conflict of interest. It would be a very stupid thing for them to do because Phil Spencer's work, not Phil, I was literally about to say Phil Spencer's working his magic on the PlayStation 6. Mark Cerny is working his magic on the PlayStation 6. Carlos, you're saying, I didn't say you were a fanboy, just saying, oh, I know. I try to get ahead of it. You know what I mean? I'm not saying you called me a fanboy, Carlos. I'm just, that's the label I have. And it doesn't bother me anymore because I realize like people come and go on my channel all the time. People subscribe, people unsubscribe, new viewers show up. Some people stick around, some people don't. And all it comes down to is people are going to decide for themselves. Do I like this guy? Do I like MBG? Do I like listening to him? And a lot of people decide they don't. And a lot of people actually just don't. They don't like me to a degree in which, I'm like practically their enemy. It's like, I'm not trying to create enemies out here, but it's like, dude, I like PlayStation, man. And I pretty much, I don't really like Xbox. I don't. Like, I actually sometimes do feel like I have an axe to grind with them. Not because I want it to be that way, but because it's just the things that they do and the things that they say, and then also the things that their fan base run with. It just kind of, it seems like it becomes an interference to a certain degree with like, it's just, to me, sometimes people go in these directions, and I get like why they're going in that direction, and I get like why I get it. Like, I get it. But it really does come down to, with situations like this, I'm not saying anybody has to pick a side. It's not necessarily about picking a side, but we do have to at least acknowledge that there is like kind of a bit of a conflict going on right now, and that conflict stems at the heart of what is perceived to be competition, right? And that competition is supposed to be at the heart of this, but with that, there's just so much, again, rhetoric. There's so much disingenuous things, so many disingenuous things being said, and so many narratives being written. And I get mixed up in some of them sometimes, but I don't know, man. I try to go with my gut with this stuff, and my gut tells me, man, that like, my gut tells me Xbox sucks straight up. No, I'm just no, but my gut really just tells me that I don't think Microsoft really knows what they're doing. That's like, genuinely, that's what my gut tells me. In video games, my gut tells me that Xbox doesn't know what they're doing, and they're basically using money as a means to completely override that fact. And I'm not saying that's like right or wrong. That's where like the big argument happens, where it's like, well, why can't they? Why can't they? Like, I get it, man. It's like, if like, wiring goes bad in my house or something, like I'm not an electrician, so I'm going to pay to get that taken care of. But the difference is, like, I'm not going to come out here and basically be like, but I do know how to do it. Like, I'm an electrician. I can take care of it. Like, no, I'm not, saying Phil said Sony paid to keep Final Fantasy 16 off of the Xbox. What? Nuh-uh. Bro, you got to be trolling me right now, man. What? This cannot be true. Hold on now. I can't believe I'm reading this. MBG is trying super hard to justify his hatred for Microsoft, but without playing Xbox Series X, all his comments come off as straight hate. Oh, no, I'm not, dude, I'm not justifying it. Please, look, D-Real, understand, dude, I'm not trying to justify anything. Like, I don't have to justify anything. You do realize that, right? Like, I can sit here and say, I fucking hate Xbox for no reason, and I'm allowed to do that. Now, I'm not saying that. I'm trying to provide certain reasons as to why I'm not a fan of Xbox and why I just think like a lot of the shit they're doing right now is just ridiculous. Um, but you know, it's look, man, people are not stupid. Like anybody who tunes in and listens to me, they know that I'm not a fan of Microsoft. I'm not a fan of Xbox. And I will admit, I think at times in the past, I've tried too hard, like you said, to like justify that when I just realized like there's nothing to justify. Like if somebody has a problem with me having a problem with Xbox, I don't know what to fucking tell you. You know what I mean? Like I'm my own person. Like I have my own feelings and I'm going to share them. And if they bother you, well, that's unfortunate. But you don't have to, you don't have to listen to me. And that's cool. That's cool. I try my best to be fair and to be balanced, but I'm a human being. I have my own bias and that's going to show through. That's going to show through. Let me see here. Himanshu, you're saying ABG, I went to Europe for a month and came back aged till I was 75, had a grandson, traveled back in time to current age, but Final Fantasy 16 cutscene was still running. Oh, I love that, dude. Yeah, dude, the Final Fantasy 16 cutscenes, I kind of love it though. I know some people hate that, but I don't know. I'm a Metal Gear fan, so you can clearly gather from that I love cutscenes in games. I really am enjoying the amount of cutscenes in Final Fantasy 16. I can completely understand why some people don't like the cutscenes. You know, I get it, but I don't know, man. They're enjoyable to watch. But I don't know. I think the balance is good. You're saying if you played MGS4, this is nothing. Yeah. I think the gameplay to cutscene ratio, you could tell it's a little bit off balance at times, but it's pretty good, man. Like I don't know. I'm thoroughly enjoying it so far. MBG, Xbox is growing. You won't be able to deny us soon. We are getting stronger. Yeah, dude. Look, man. Xbox is on the up, and I'm trying my best to give them credit. You know, like I'm trying. That's where I try really hard to not come off just as a straight hater, and I know that I probably fail at that. But like, I'm trying to be as fair as I can. It's like, yeah, they had a good show. They got some games, man. Their studios are doing work. Microsoft, they got a huge win in Starfield. Like I'm trying my best to give credit where it's due and be fair, but I don't think I'll ever be able to get over the fact that like, dude, I don't know, man. I know it doesn't matter to most people, but I just think that Sony has proven something that Microsoft still hasn't, and I don't know what to tell people who don't want to hear that. You know what I mean? And I know, like, I get it. To like people, it doesn't matter. It's like, who cares? You know? Like if Microsoft is securing games like Starfield and buying these studios and those studios are doing good, then who cares? It's like, okay, well, that's fair, man. That's fair. Like, and that's how most people are going to react to it, you know? Most people are going to react to it by just, being like, hey, I'm just going to go play these games. And that's fine. Saying you can have a preference of either console, but you don't have to downplay one system to feel good about another. I'll be honest, man. I don't think... I don't know. Is that how you guys are taking it? Am I downplaying things? I don't think I'm downplaying it. Like I've stated numerous times that, like, look, I understand that I would probably get more cheering from a vocal crowd of people if I just sat here and said like, yo, Xbox sucks. Starfield sucks. Everything Xbox touches turns to shit. I get that. I understand that there would be a certain, response from that, but I don't. Again, like I've tried to give credit where it's like Starfield, yeah, dude, that's a huge game for Xbox. Like if I were to downplay Xbox, I don't think I'm downplaying them at all. Actually, I think I'm doing the opposite. I think I'm doing the opposite. I think I'm pretty much sitting here saying like I think Xbox is now a viable competitor to Sony. Yeah, Joe, you're right. You're saying if anything, I'm playing it up. I am, and dude, you'd be surprised. A lot of people, a lot of PlayStation fans. Or maybe not just PlayStation fans, but people in general, they come to me and are like, dude, I think you're giving them too much credit, man. And maybe I am. Maybe I am. Fred, you're saying, ABG, I feel you're trying to walk a key critical aspect without sounding like a fanboy attitude. Yeah, and that's where, again, it's tough because everything about my preference basically screams like, well, you're a PlayStation fanboy. Like, you're a huge PlayStation fan, and that's what you're loyal to, and that's what you play on, and you don't really play on anything else. It's like, that's why I don't feel comfortable necessarily denying people when they say that, because it's like, I guess it depends on like what your definition of a fanboy is. Like, if your definition of a fanboy is just somebody who is just like takes a hardline stance that only the thing I like is good and literally everything else is shit. I don't think that's me. I don't think everything else is shit. I think there are a lot of things outside of PlayStation that are great, But it's interesting. It's interesting to see the way people label. 47 says, nothing wrong with admiring greatness. That's all it comes down to, man. Like, again, at the end of this year, I look at Microsoft. Microsoft's offering Forza and Starfield. Sony's offering Spider-Man 2, and we don't have a release date for it yet, but Helldivers 2. And between those two groups of games, like, I'm definitely 100% like, yeah, I'm sticking with Sony here, man. Like, mainly for Spider-Man 2, but I actually think Helldivers 2 looks pretty great. I want to get a release date for that game. I'm shocked we don't have a release date for that game yet. It's supposed to come out this year. But, Forza looks great. It's a racing game. I'm sure it'll be fine, but I'm not super into racing games. And I've never been into Bethesda RPGs. Dude, one of the things I heard about Starfield that I was laughing my ass off, because I got to figure out if this is true or not. I swear I was like, there's just no way this like, if this is real, why is nobody talking about this? Apparently, Todd Howard did an interview the other day with, I think it was Kind of Funny. And I think he said, I don't know, guys, I'm not quoting him. I read this and it could be total bullshit. So please tell me if it is. I didn't get to watch the interview, but I saw somebody say that Todd Howard said Starfield is a walking simulator. And again, that could be total nonsense, and he never said that. But is that true? Did he say that? I got to look into it, man. MBG, what was the thing that you remembered to talk about? Yeah, I still want to talk about that. Thank you for reminding me. He didn't say that? Okay. I was going to say that. I don't think he would say that. I think some people were saying that. I think, yeah, that, because to me, it's like, I don't think anybody would say that about their game, because that has like a negative connotation to it. That's why I was like, I don't think so. But I think the reason why some people were saying that about it is because he confirmed that there's no way to travel on planets. Like, there's no like ground vehicles or anything. Like, you have to just travel on foot. And I think some people were like, oh, well, there's going to be a walking simulator now. Yeah, no land vehicles. That's kind of, that's kind of surprising to me. For a game as big as Starfield, I would have thought that they would have had like some kind of land vehicle or something. DLC. Oh yeah, true. That would make for good DLC. Easy money right there. Mods. And yeah, my whole argument with that, though, if it was true, it's not true, but I was gonna say like, there's no way, because like everybody, so many people clowned on Death Stranding for being a walking simulator. I'm like, bro, Death Stranding is, I don't know. I guess you can't argue with the fact that it's a walking simulator, but Arnie Vesper, you're saying, I'm 2 hours back, have no idea what the current conversation is about. I just want to show my appreciation for what you do. Love your content. Cheers from Norway. Well, thank you so much, dude. I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you for the super chat. Thank you for showing your appreciation and showing your support. I'm glad you enjoy the content, dude. Big shout out to everybody who supports this channel. A lot of you guys are ride or die, and that is hell yeah, dude. You know, that means the world to me. So thank you. And as long as you continue to show that support, I will be here doing my thing, man. But yeah, there was something that I think is interesting that I want to talk to you guys about. And this is a little bit random, but okay. I've been noticing on Twitter for the past like week or so that Bungie is like continually trending. And every now and again, I will click on it to see why they're trending, and it is just a stream, just a constant stream of just negativity. And I'm not like even too deep into it, like clips of streamers getting mad and people complaining and all this stuff. And we got Fred Vance coming in, dropping another 5. Bro, Fred. Guys, we need more W's in the chat for Fred. He can't get enough W's today. Dude, thank you so much, Fred. Fred's doing some work for this community today. Love to see it, man. I really do appreciate that. What is that? I don't know. How many is that today? It's like 20 from you now or more. That's probably more than 20. Like 25 or close to 30. Love to see it, dude. Fred, which soundbite would you like, man? Let me know. MVG, I am your ADHD today. It's all good, bro. It's all good. Microsoft Marketing Machine is on 1,000% right now. Yeah, it is. It absolutely is. You're right about that. They are in... You want Mark Cerny? There you go, man.
To rely on teraflops.
I still have been thinking about whether or not I'm going to get that Mark Cerny cardboard cutout. I don't know. I feel like that's a step too far. Doesn't it feel like it? Getting I feel like if Mark Cerny were to ever come across my channel, or somebody just informed him, like, there's this PlayStation streamer dude, and he has a cardboard cutout of you in the background, you know? Like, I feel like it's just... But it would be so funny, though, because I could just constantly turn around and be like, so, Mark, what do you think about this? And I could try to do my best Mark Cerny impression. Well, MBG, let me tell you. If you're talking about teraflops, I wouldn't go there. Dude, we need Mark Cerny to start doing a podcast or something, man. He just has such a relaxing voice. Fred saying, MBG, if you have a P.O. box, I'll send you one. Oh my God, dude, that's even worse. I appreciate that, Fred, but I could not. I don't know. Maybe that isn't worse, because if I like came home with a Mark Cerny cutout and I could say, somebody gifted this to me, it seems a lot less weird, you know? It's like, well, now you're obligated to keep it up, man. I'll see, though. I'll have to think about it. I'll have to think about it. Because I don't know, man. It's just like, you know, what would my wife think of that? If I ever had company over and they happen to see that, they'd be like, who's that? And I'd be like, it's a long story. Him and Kojima, yeah, dude. Oh my God, that would be so funny. All right. But thank you again, Fred. Yeah, let me update this. We're at 60 for the day. 60 for the day. Awesome. Let me get back to, okay, so I was talking about Bungie, and I've noticed that when I when I would check Twitter and Bungie's just constantly trending, it's just nothing but negativity, man. It's just nothing but people complaining about them. And then the other day, I noticed on the trending tab on YouTube, there was this video about Destiny. And the title of this video, I forget the name of the content creator, but the title of this video was Destiny 2 has become a microtransaction hell. And I was like, uh-oh. So I decided, so I'm not a Destiny player. And I was really interested in watching this because we did recently get that report a couple weeks ago that apparently Bungie is overseeing all of Sony's internal live service games, even from their other first party studios. And they saw Naughty Dog's multiplayer game and they're like, we don't know that this is going to keep people engaged in the long run or for the long term. And they have to like go back to the drawing board with some. Yeah, Aztec Cross, I think that's his name. I guess he's like a big Destiny guy. And I watched his video and dude, oh man. I feel so torn because again, his video title was Destiny 2 has become microtransaction hell, and I watched the whole thing, and he basically broke down like every area of Destiny 2 and basically explaining like how Bungie has truly nickel and dimed the community to death, and to like it. And one of the biggest things is how it is so unbelievably expensive for new players who actually want to play like the game like the right way and all experience all the content. It's like unbelievably expensive. And but the thing that truly blew my mind, and this was the thing where I was like, holy shit, when we got to the very end of the video, because I watched the whole thing and I'm like, dude, how is Destiny 2 even still around, man? I was like, it revealed like all this stuff and about how everything's just, it's a cluster and there's so much, it's so expensive, it's so confusing. And I thought, surely if it's this bad, like this game must be on the ropes, right? And then at the very end, he concluded by like letting everybody know that I didn't make this video to basically make it sound like Destiny is dying or anything. He actually showed data and it revealed that the game is in the healthiest state it's ever been in. It has more players than ever before. It's like making more money than it ever has. And I'm just like, I don't know what to make of that. Like that as somebody who doesn't play Destiny 2, I genuinely did not know what to think of that. Because I'm like, hold on a second. How can there be this many things wrong with this game, but yet it's doing better than it ever has? You know? So I don't like, it's, you're saying same thing with Call of Duty and Activision? Yeah, I guess so. I guess I haven't seen anything on Call of Duty. I haven't been following it at all, actually. But that's what's so weird to me. It's just like, what? I don't understand. And Fred's coming in again. Bro, Fred is doing the lifting today, man, for this community. Fred drops another 5-bomb. Guys, we need more W's in the chat for Fred. Who's going to help Fred out here, man? Fred's out here getting us up to 65 members on the day. Of course, not single-handedly, but a lot of them are from Fred, man. Dude, thank you so much. That is very kind of you, bro. That's very kind of you. I'll give you another Mark Cerny because I know that's your favorite now. And Domingo 813, you're saying the FTC is about to take Fred to court. Yeah, they are. Thank you, Fred. Really appreciate the support, man. Fred's been here for a little while gifting memberships. Carlos, you're saying, I want to play Destiny 2 so bad, but I can't believe they retired so much story content. I would be so lost, LOL. Yeah, that's what's weird to me is like, I get like a part of me wanted to be so angry at Bungie and Sony where I was like, I'm watching this video and this video was trending on YouTube. Like it got a shit ton of views. And I wanted to be so mad at Sony and Bungie and be like, how could Sony buy this company, man? And like, how can Bungie get away with this? And they're going to ruin all these games and blah, blah, blah. But then it's like, but they're doing amazing and people actually like it. And that's the thing is it's like, yeah, people do like it because they're there supporting it. And so, I don't know, man. I don't like it. It just puts me in this precarious position where I like kind of don't know what to think. And so I guess I'm looking ahead to a game like Marathon, where it's like I want to see how I feel about Marathon. I'm assuming, I don't know if it'll be free to play. I'm assuming I'll have to buy it. I'm gonna buy Marathon. I think it looks interesting. I'm gonna play it, and I'm gonna be really interested to see, like, you know, saying ABG is the feeling of the shooting mechanics. Yeah, but I don't know if it can just be that alone, man. Because I do, I don't know. Maybe you're right about that. Maybe you are right about that. Hellbound 1981 coming in following Fred Vance. Hellbound drops another 5 memberships. Another 5 bomb from Hellbound. Bro, that brings us up to 70 on the day. We are so close now. We are about to hit our goal of 75. We started today with a goal of 25. And just like that, Fred drops in and he's like, we're getting to that 75. Thank you guys so much, man. Love to see it. Guys, if any of you in here are members, man, if you have a badge next to your name, consider paying it forward. Consider gifting some memberships, because we have some community members here that are doing some serious work today, man. So I got to update the goal again. Thank you guys so much. I got to give you a holy shit for that one. And I'll give you a little Arnold as well. Little Arnold. All right, yeah, we'll keep it there. And where are we at? I think we're at 75 now. Damn, you guys are crazy. There we go. All right, I updated the member goal again. Hellbound 1981 and Fred Vance doing work today. MBG, today is all love today, man. I really appreciate that. You know, I was like nervous going into the stream. I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to have the energy today. I didn't sleep very well last night. I don't know why. I just didn't get much sleep last night. And you know, I still tried to do my routine today, get a workout in, and I'm glad, man. Got my community here to help uplift me, keep the energy high. Really appreciate it. Let me see. MBG content like this 6-player raids are the experiences you can only get with Bungie and Destiny 2. Yeah, I guess that's where I'm thinking, like, they're MVG having nightmares about the storm. Yeah, dude. Don't forget to flex. Hell yeah, dude. Oh yeah, I will ask you guys, how's it looking? I got to bring it up here. I have been lifting, man. I don't know if I'm looking flat. I don't know if I'm making progress or not. This lighting is horrible, though. This lighting is not helping. Trying to grow the arms a bit. I don't know. I feel like I'm not like making much progress, but I feel like mostly what I'm doing is like maintenance. You know what I did do, actually? I bought some new dumbbells. Speaking of lifting, I bought some new dumbbells, and I bought heavier dumbbells. So maybe that'll be the difference maker. Saying the forearms look a little bit more toned. All right, that's good. That's good. You know what I have trouble with? My outer bicep here. Like, for some reason, specifically on this arm, like, it just like doesn't develop. I don't know why. Like, even when I try to spot train it, you know, it still like just doesn't want to do it. But yeah, I've been trying to I've been trying to stick to my routine. Still taking my protein, still taking my supplements. I'm just not going crazy. You're saying MBG, you need steroids? Yeah, I'm not. I'm good, man. You know, I know that these days it's like, you know, it's easier than ever to go on steroids and whatnot. And I don't have a problem with anybody who does. Like, you know, to each their own. Everybody's going to do what they want to do. But I've done my research and I've weighed the pros and cons, and I know that there's a proper way to do it. But to me, it just, I don't know. I honestly have to ask myself, like, do I care that much? And the answer is like, no, I don't. I really don't. You know, like, I care about just being healthy and being being natural to me is fine. So that's where I prefer to be. MBG, do you just do arms? I do not just do arms. No. No, I do. The only thing I actually completely neglect and I should start doing more, but I probably won't, is my abs. I hate doing any type of abdominal exercise. I hate it. I do legs, I do calves, I do everything really, but I can't stand it. I can't stand doing abs. Saying diesel isolate is the best protein. I take do you know the brand? It's and I'm not sponsored by them, but Animal. They're under, I think, Universal Nutrition. I take Animal Whey. I've taken many different whey proteins, but Animal Whey in particular seems to, it like doesn't bother my stomach at all. Like most other whey proteins that I take, they bother my stomach slightly, but that was like the first protein I ever came across. I think because they actually put digestive enzymes in the protein, and it's like really helpful. So I don't know if anybody, heard of that brand or if they use them. Saying weight training and fitness is 80% nutrition. It really is, dude. Get that sponsorship, MBG. I don't think I could ever get an Animal sponsorship because, like, they are all about, like, dude, the guys that they sponsor are roided out. And I don't mean lightly roided out. I mean just fully roided out, man. What brand? The brand is called Animal, and I believe the like parent brand or company is called Universal Nutrition. Yeah, I mean their protein's pretty good. I get their vanilla 5-pound whey protein isolate. I don't know if it's I think it's an isolate. But yeah, I'm trying my best to my big problem, because you're definitely right when you say it's about diet. It is. A lot of it is so much diet based, man, and my diet is a wreck most of the time. Like I have some good days, but I can never stay consistent with my diet. I'm too weak, man. I'm too weak. Ice cream is my weakness. Ice cream is my weakness. And sugar too. Yeah. I love my sugar. How did we get on this conversation again? Oh yeah, I think because Fred Vance was like, flex, MBG, flex. Space Gambler Jr. says sugar's so hard. It is. It really is, man. Eat keto ice cream. But that's the thing. You if you eat these diet based, they're just never the same, man. They're never the same. You can eat practically anything as long as you do so in moderation. That seems to be the trick. That's the trick, man. And I feel like that's with everything. Moderation truly is key. MBG, I told you I was your ADHD today. Yeah, you weren't wrong about that, Fred. You definitely weren't wrong about that. All right. Let me see. I did so I don't know that there's any other like major topics to discuss. MBG, have you ever had real Madagascar vanilla bean ice cream? It's nuts. I don't think I ever have. No. Maybe I'll look into that. I just tried this new brand recently. It was like this peanut butter cup ice cream. I forget the name of the brand. I'll have to look at it, and I never heard of them before. My wife picked it up for me, and she was like, "Oh, I got this new ice cream for you. Maybe you'll like it." It was actually really, really good. It's like, damn, shit's amazing. I like destroyed it. Just need balance. Yeah, it's true, man. You know what's weird about life today, though, is that isn't it just so easy to be off balance? It's just too easy to be off balance with anything. And it got really dark in here. Got all stormy outside again. Don't worry, I don't think there's going to be a major storm this time, guys. I think we'll be okay. I don't think I have to abruptly end the stream. But MBG elk meat has helped me with dropping some fat and get better nutrients from the meat. Elk meat, huh? Yeah, I eat a lot of meat too. See, my problem is like, I know people go on like that carnivore diet, And I could never do something like that. Like I noticed that there are like these extreme diets out there, and I could just never do any of them. Like full keto, um, you know, full carnivore, where you eat nothing but meat. I could never do any of this stuff. But I try. I do understand that it's like it's probably best to try to lean in more towards one direction than the other. But again, moderation, man. BG is low key a storm chaser. Yeah, that's why I ended my stream the other day, man. I had to go chase that storm. Was it that obvious? All right, guys, be prepared. My screen's about to get really bright again. Oh my god, it is really bright. Holy hell! When am I gonna put dark mode on? Never. The light is what keeps me awake. Microsoft's Phil Spencer claims they have made acquisitions because Sony makes third-party deals to block Xbox releases for certain games and says that they couldn't fall further behind in the market. I'm telling you guys, look, man, the further this goes, the more this goes on. I'm really beginning to believe Sony's going to make a play for a publisher, man. I'm telling you, I'm just laughing because I see some of you guys responding to how bright my screen is. Dude, that's funny. Jesus, man, too bright. I know, bro. At this point, I'm not lowering the brightness because it's funny. I think it's just funny at this point. But I really think Sony's going to make a play. I do. I think they're going to make a play for a publisher. Because if what Microsoft is saying is true, and I think it is, we're like, they're just straight up like, yo, we started buying publishers because we got tired of Sony's shit. I don't know, man. I don't know. Which publisher do I think Sony would buy? That's a great question. I mean, it's impossible to say. I will say this, though. If Sony really does decide they need to go make a move and really try to buy a publisher, I think they're likely to go after somebody that is less likely to be acquired by, more likely to be acquired by somebody like Microsoft. So like people think like Square Enix. I don't think so, man. Like I do not see why Sony would need to buy Square Enix. I think Square Enix is just totally fine with the partnership. And do we ever see Microsoft buying Square Enix? Do we see anybody else buying them? I don't think so, man. I really don't. But that could be what Sony maybe decides to go for. But I think Sony's likely to go for a publisher whose games they couldn't, I don't know, they just couldn't dare risk losing. And I mean, there's a lot of publishers that come to mind, you know? Jesus Christ, that's bright. Yeah, I'm gonna have to lower the brightness. You know, the thing is, when it's bright in my room here where I'm streaming, you can't tell how bright the screen is. But man, when it's dark, when it's dim like it is right now, oh my god, looks crazy. Stephen Jones, you're saying Microsoft can afford a whole ass publisher, but not a third party exclusive. Get out of here with that stuff. Yeah, look, man, this is why I've tried to say that if you know how to read between the lines, all Microsoft is saying when they say, well, we had to buy publishers because Sony wouldn't stop making exclusivity deals, they're just saying like, we want to basically do that same thing, but at the highest possible level. You know what I mean? Again, it's escalation, and Microsoft is using Sony's third-party deals as justification for their escalation. And it makes sense, like it does add up, but Stephen Jones, you are 100% correct in that Microsoft could absolutely afford. They could. I think the key aspect of what Phil Spencer said is when he says, when Phil Spencer says we couldn't fall further behind. We couldn't fall further behind. I think that really kind of says it all. Where it's like you could go out and strike third-party deals, but it makes sense where it's like, look, we don't want to fall further behind, and we want to make a big move to get ahead now. You buy a publisher. Again, I don't fault Microsoft for buying Bethesda. I really don't. I totally understand why they bought Bethesda and why, why that's what they decided to go for. But I don't know. I just think that it's really shaky where things end up if they get Activision Blizzard as well. But I really do think that Sony is going to seriously consider buying a publisher if Microsoft actually does get Activision Blizzard. Because if Microsoft gets Activision Blizzard, I don't think that this stops anytime soon. Like, I don't think it just means like, oh, well, Microsoft's done now. Capono, you're saying MBG, I'm so ready for this to be over with. Yeah, I am too, because like once, regardless of the outcome will ultimately determine, I think, like kind of the flow going forward, right? Because if it gets blocked, then that's it. Like if it gets blocked, then big third-party monolithic publishers are not going to be able to get purchased. It'll just be too hard. It'll be too risky. If it goes through and Microsoft gets ABK, then it essentially sends a signal that if you're a big publisher and you want to sell, you'll be able to, more than likely. And it's not nearly as risky anymore. So I feel like this is really kind of the turning point. And that's why I'm saying that if this deal does go through, I really could see Sony being like, you know what, we can't risk losing a major publisher again, even if we were to keep their games. Because again, you have to look at it from Sony's perspective, where if we lose another publisher, Bethesda's off the board. We can never make a deal with Bethesda again. Activision's off the board. Blizzard's off the board. We can never make a deal with them ever again. If that keeps happening, Sony's losing the ability to make deals. And that's one major reason why Sony might try to secure a publisher that they deem valuable so that they don't have to risk losing that, MBG, they can't afford a big publisher, though. Well, they can. It's, as I always say, Sony can absolutely afford a big publisher. I don't know that they could afford like $68 billion. And I don't think they would ever make a purchase that large. Like, people talk about like Sony going for like EA. I don't think they would ever do that. That's like way too big. But they could afford a fair amount of publishers if they really wanted to. It's just the risk is so much higher for Sony than Microsoft, because I don't know, man. Sony, if that were to go poorly, they don't. Sony is a multi-billion-dollar corporation, but they don't have trillions of dollars. You know what I mean? They can't just kind of treat it like it's whatever. We lost $10 billion, no big deal. I mean, $10 billion is $10 billion lost if that were to happen, no matter what, right? Like, it's a lot of money, but in the context of, what is $10 billion compared to $1 trillion? It's like a drop in the bucket at that point, Fred Vance with a super chat as well, saying, the thing is, why does Activision Blizzard King want to be bought? They stated it's not due to financial issues with $12 billion in reserves. I think it's clear, man. Like, if it's not a financial reason, then it's like a leadership. Well, I don't know. I have two theories. Theory one is it simply could be because of what is going on and what has went on with the the sexual harassment cases and whatnot, and just all this really terrible stuff coming out about Activision and Bobby Kotick and the leadership and the management. And then theory two is it could be that, and I don't know, I feel like this is less likely, but it could be. It could be that maybe they feel like, you know what, our moneymaker, our bread and butter has been Call of Duty for like 20 years. And that's kind of unheard of. You know, it's unheard of for a game series like Call of Duty to release every year and make as much money as it does and sell as much as it does just so consistently. They might feel like, you know, maybe it did peak, and maybe in the next 5 years or so, maybe they just kind of foresee it tanking or starting to go downhill. Maybe not rapidly, but slowly. And it's kind of one of these things where it's like, let's cash out, you know, while we're at our highest price. You know what I mean? I think that's another theory. I think either one is pretty bad, though. You know what I mean? I think at the end of the day, when you see an entity like Activision make the decision that they no longer want to be independent, I think no matter what, the reasoning is not good. You know what I mean? Because independent publishers, like, there was a rumor a couple weeks ago, it just came out of nowhere. I didn't believe it for a second, but CD Projekt Red did respond to it, where there was like a rumor that Sony's in talks to acquire CD Projekt Red, and they literally came out and were like, no, we're not. And I feel like if you look at CD Projekt Red, like they're an independent publisher that really values that independence. And I think there's something to be said for that. I think most publishers value their independence and they would prefer to be independent. However, it's just if the reality is telling you that, hey, you can value your independence all you want, but there's a lot of like, this is looking kind of shaky potentially. Or maybe there's just an upside to getting acquired, and maybe that upside is as simple as you can just make lots and lots of money. You can cash out, you know. It's a tricky thing, really. It's a tricky thing. One of the reasons why I want to see this end, though, and I'm very eager, is because I could be wrong about this, and I'm prepared to be completely wrong about this. But I just kind of have this feeling, and it's just a feeling, once this deal is done, okay, like let's just assume the deal goes through, okay? Let's say that by the end of all this, I don't know when it's going to end. Maybe it ends this year. Maybe it ends sometime next year. God, I hope it. Oh my God. Do we have any ETA on that, by the way, guys? Do we have any idea when this is going to end? Like, is there an estimate? Next week? You think so? That sounds way too soon. 2025? No, don't tell me that, man. Saying it'll be done in July. That would be nice. Yeah, I think a lot of people are looking at what's happening with the FTC right now. Like, if the FTC loses this, Microsoft will close the deal. So I kind of hope that happens, because I have this feeling that once that happens, like once the deal is done and Microsoft announces we own Activision Blizzard, I think I just think, and I feel, it's my intuition telling me, Sony begins to behave very differently. Like not like completely differently, but I just think that it's a start of a new chapter for PlayStation. And I think PlayStation becomes even more unpredictable than they are now in some ways, not always, but I don't know, man. Like, I still get this feeling, especially now, because think about this. Looking back at the PlayStation Showcase, wow, actually, it's been almost exactly a month. I feel like it's been longer than that, dude. But we talk about that PlayStation Showcase, and again, not to beat a dead horse, but so many people were like, Sony held back, man. And it's obvious why they held back. Sony held back because of this Activision Blizzard deal. They're still not willing to come out and flex the way that they know that they could and should. They're not willing to do it. They're holding back because they want to see where this leads and how this ends. And, in the moment, I really felt like that's stupid. Like, I don't believe that. You know what I mean? Like, I really just thought to myself, like, that can't be true. But considering we are literally 1 month removed from that PlayStation Showcase, and for the past 2 weeks, this is all that's been going on. And these are the headlines again, dude. Like, again. We are right back to square one. And I don't know. I guess I'm just thinking the day this deal closes, saying holding back as the market leader is crazy. It's not crazy. It's actually it's not nearly as crazy as it sounds. And the reason being is because, like, if you're the market leader, but there's something looming over the horizon that could potentially be a big threat, you might want to actually hold back and say, okay, well, if things are about to ramp up a lot in the next year, maybe we should not play all our cards yet. Maybe we shouldn't show our entire hand. Again, it is conspiratorial, and this is one of those things where it's like there's no way for us to know unless we get a leaked internal email where Jim Ryan states that we're going to hold back on our showcase this year, saying so Sony is in fear. Then it's not. Well, it depends on how you look at it, because it's like we've talked about in business how it's not about ethics, it's not about morals, it's not about what's right or wrong, and I feel like fear isn't necessarily part of it either. Like, I think it's easy to say, like, oh, Sony's like afraid. No, it's that Sony has to be smart. You know what I mean? They have to consider all the different variables and all the different scenarios and all the different outcomes. And they need to consider that one of the things that may happen is after Microsoft. Well, first off, when Sony did their showcase, they didn't know what Microsoft's show was going to be like. So they had to consider that. Then immediately after, they also have to consider, guys, what do you think the news cycle is going to be like the day Microsoft closes this deal? What do you think the news cycle is going to be like? Because I could tell you exactly what it's going to be. There's going to be an unfathomable amount of hype for Xbox on a level you think Starfield is doing big things for Xbox. Oh boy. Wait until you see what Microsoft's marketing looks like after they close the Activision Blizzard deal. And Sony has to contend with that. And that's why I'm saying when you consider that, suddenly it doesn't sound crazy at all if you're Sony to say, you know what, let's pump the brakes and let's see how this unfolds, because it is going to unfold. And when it does, it's only going to go one of two ways. I see MVG should stay off Twitter that day. Oh, I'm gone, bro. It ain't worth it. I could put out a tweet that day saying, "Good job, like congratulations, Microsoft." I'll get decimated. Yeah, that's a day where it's like, you know what? I think I'm gonna go. I'm just gonna take the day off. I'll probably do a stream that day, of course, but I will delete Twitter that day. I don't know. I'm considering when I hit 60,000 followers on Twitter, I'm considering retiring from Twitter. I won't lie. I've been thinking about it. I mean, like, seriously retiring. Like, I would keep my account up, but it would be a retired account. I've really seriously considered it because I don't know, dude. I every day I question, like, why the fuck am I here? And I know I'm like a broken record at that point, and maybe people are like, you're addicted to it. It's like, I don't know, man. Sounds like you're saying you're hoping to have this deal to humble Sony a little. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that at all. Like, I know at the beginning of the stream, like, I talk about Jim Ryan and how Jim Ryan says, we'll be okay. We'll be more than okay. And I think that's true. Like, he says in his email, I'm not complacent. And I think that's important to highlight because it would be easy to think, like, are you sure about that? You sure about that? You know, like, that sounds like a complacent reaction, but in reality, it's understanding that this is nothing that's happening right now is a race. It's all a marathon. It's all it's a long-term play from both Sony and Microsoft, and the implications of everything that's happening right now are all very long-term. And so it's something that Sony understands. Look, even if Microsoft really does begin to, all right, let me paint a scenario for you. All right, I painted half the scenario. Fred, you're saying MBG personally, I see Activision as a massive money pit for Microsoft. Yeah, I've been seeing more people talking about it that way as well. But the one that's the kind of the tough thing there, right, Fred? Because it's like, well, on one hand, it is a big money pit because you spent $68 billion. Like $68 billion. How are you going to make that back? But on the other hand, think about what I just said, though, about when the day this deal arrives. Like, this Activision, a play for Activision Blizzard to me communicates this is too big to fail. And it just might be too big to fail. And if it is too big to fail, then it means they're not just going to win big. They're really going to skyrocket is what's going to happen. Microsoft is on their hands and knees right now, desperately trying to get this because they 100% believe they're going to skyrocket after they get Activision Blizzard. Maybe not overnight, but it'll be the start. And once it gets going, once that train leaves the station, it only picks up more and more and more momentum. And again, like, going back to that Jim Ryan email, he says they're thinking beyond exclusivity because, again, Jim is a businessman. He's not stupid. You know, the executives at Sony, they fully understand Microsoft's play here. This is a long-term momentum play that once the train gets off once it leaves the station and it gets off to a start, it doesn't stop. And it just keeps going faster and faster and faster and faster and faster. And Sony knows this well because they, it's just the way these things go. Sony's been trying to do that themselves in a different way. And so here's the scenario I want to paint for you. I painted the first half, right? Microsoft announces that the Activision Blizzard deal has closed and they own them, and that all future Activision Blizzard games will be dropping day and date into Game Pass, including Call of Duty. And there's, the celebration's going to be massive. I mean, people are going to be talking about it for weeks. And Xbox, in one fell swoop, not only after having a great showcase, but now they get the biggest W that their fan base And the gaming, I mean, for not even the fans, just for people in general, they're going to see this as the biggest W ever, right? And Sony is going to be on the back foot, PR wise. Okay, financially, Sony will not be on the back foot, but PR wise, they will be. Now, if you're Sony, what do you do to combat that? What do you do after spending a year basically saying this can't happen, we want to block it, our business will never recover, yada, 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 but it's over and they got him. If you're Sony, what do you do? Curious to see what the chat says here. Drop a Spider-Man trailer. Oh, there you go. That's it. That's all you do. Buy Ubisoft. Sony opens the floodgates and drops bombs. Bring back SOCOM. Josh, you're saying these conversations are so tired, just like I said numerous times last year. This isn't going to close until earliest mid-2024. Shit's ruining gaming. Yeah, it does suck, man. Like, I don't know. That's why I just kind of wish, like, it feels like impossible for me to not talk about it because it's like Sony is like directly involved with this. If Sony was out here like doing their own shit, not involved at all, it would probably be a lot easier to not talk about it. But I don't know, man. It feels like Sony basically had a showcase. The showcase was underwhelming, and they went right back into, okay, now we gotta, we got legal battles and shit to deal with, and you gotta testify and gotta, so on and so forth. But I hear you, Josh. Yeah, I mean, like my hope is next week, for example. I mean, today's Friday, so technically the news cycle is going to end. I mean, there might be some news over the weekend. Sometimes there is. But like my hope is for like next week. I really hope that that the entire week isn't just dominated by this same thing. Because that's going to suck, dude. Like, that's not fun. I mean, if there's like some crazy information that comes, like just something totally wild, it's like, oh, okay, I guess that would be interesting. Cam Slash, you're saying, I think that showcase was from last year. What's interesting is Sony's showcase, the rumor was the reason why Sony didn't do a showcase in 2022, they were planning to, but their studios weren't ready. Right? But then you look at their showcase that they put on this year, and it's like, I don't know, man. It still seems like most of your studios weren't ready. Like, the only studio that showed gameplay was Insomniac with Spider-Man. So, I don't know. Gaming Survivor, you're saying the CMA are reviewing the ABK in July. It's going to be in the news cycle all summer. Man. Yeah, I don't know. So I feel like we had one question answered finally, and the question was answered a year later. It's, how does Sony really feel about this? And Sony feels okay. Like, they straight up, they feel like no matter what happens, they'll be okay. If they, if Microsoft gets Activision Blizzard, they feel like they'll still be more than okay. They have good stuff cooking. So I appreciate finally getting that answer and feeling like, okay, well, we could check that box off. Like, Sony is actually confident, and they're not actually, they don't actually believe that their business is not going to recover. So that's good. But the only other question that I don't think we're going to get an answer to it. I really don't think we will. And I would just love to get an answer to this question. And that is like, is what is happening right now, is this interfering with the way Sony is like handling their PR and their marketing. And you know, like, is this a reason why the showcase was weak this year? I would love to get an answer to this question because, well, I guess if I had an answer to it, it wouldn't necessarily change anything, but it would at least make me that much more eager to see this end, because once it would end, then we would know for sure that, okay, well, that's over. We can move on now. We can turn the chapter and move on. But we don't know. We don't know. July will be, I don't know. July will be interesting because as far as I'm aware, Sony doesn't really have anything lined up for July. There's no state of plays. There's no games. There's nothing. So I don't know. We'll see what July looks like. I mean, I very much expect I'll still be playing Final Fantasy 16 in July. Fred, you're saying, MBG, I think people don't understand why PlayStation can't do easy business with ABK once acquired, because those dev kits give a lot of information to Xbox on what they are doing. Yeah, that's going to be really, really strange, man, because Sony is going to be in a bind. They are. Jay Shako, you're saying Helldivers 2, bro. Surprise release in July. That'd be amazing. Sony really is going to be in a bind though with their dev kits, because they're going to have to make a decision. We either don't give them PlayStation 6 dev kits or we do. And if they don't, Call of Duty, I'm not saying it's not going to come to PlayStation, but we could like see a situation where PlayStation 6 owners for the first like year or for like the first year, like, I don't know, which let's just say it's another Treyarch Call of Duty. Treyarch is releasing the first Call of Duty for the PlayStation 6 and the Xbox, I don't know, Series X2, whatever the hell it'll be called. And the PlayStation version is just the PS5 version. There is no native PlayStation 6 version. That's likely what will happen. Now, the next year, they'll probably have a native PlayStation 6 version because Sony will feel comfortable giving them the dev kits because, well, the console's out. You know, everybody knows what's in it now. So I do think saying they don't need a dev kit, just get them specs. But that's what I'm saying is like, that's kind of I think that's a major thing that Sony wants to withhold from Microsoft is like they don't want Microsoft to know the specifications of their console. That's my guess anyway. So I think that's probably what's going to happen. And maybe that won't be so bad because I'll be honest. Like, I'm trying to think like what could a PlayStation 6 version of Call of Duty Black Ops, like Cold War 3 or 2 or whatever, 3, I guess. What could a PlayStation 6 version of that offer that would be so substantial compared to the PS5 version? I'm sure there'll be something. But I'd be okay with that. That's a sacrifice worth making, in my opinion. I think Sony should absolutely keep the PlayStation 6 hardware and specifications close to the chest. They should not give that to Microsoft. Although, I'll be honest, I don't think Microsoft would care. You know what I mean? Like, I really do kind of believe Microsoft doesn't care about the console anymore. So I feel like even if they did have the PlayStation 6 specifications, I don't think they'd be like, we got to match that all of a sudden. Maybe they would. I don't know. See, that's what I'm saying. I don't want to underestimate Microsoft, man. Microsoft, right now, they're trying to convince people they don't care about the console, but that's another question. Like, how does Microsoft think the next gen of console sales is going to look for them with the Xbox when they have Bethesda and Activision Blizzard and their own first-party studios? We are Venom. You're saying, wow, Phil Spencer just confirmed that Xbox is a standalone business inside of they have obligations to fulfill ROI, return on investment, on that investment. I can't say I'm surprised, man. I do think the Activision Blizzard gamble is, I think this is Phil's game, man. I think that the CEO and the CFO of Microsoft, I think when they told Phil, like, we'll give you money to make investments, I think that they trust him. Obviously, you have to trust the person to be able to let them spend this kind of money, but it's Phil's game. And it is up to Phil to navigate this ship to eventually turn a profit. And that's why I'm saying it is riskier than people realize. I'm looking at it from a more optimistic standpoint, where I think once Microsoft has ABK and Bethesda and all their internal studios, I think that I could see Game Pass skyrocketing. I could, especially because of Call of Duty. But what if it doesn't? It's a possibility. I'm not saying it's likely, but it is like a possibility where, like, I don't know, man. What if this year? I don't know. What if this year, like, Modern Warfare 3 is announced and people are like, this sucks, and it's like kind of a disaster for Activision, where it's like, turns out we just sold Modern Warfare 2 last year and people aren't really eager to go out and buy Modern Warfare 3, because it's literally the same. It's literally DLC and we're charging $70 for it. I don't know. Saying, that's the thing I would like to know. Like, you're saying COD is dying. I feel like it is, but at the same time, like, I also thought Destiny 2 was dying, just to find out that it's doing better than it ever has. And I do wonder, like, is that the same? Is that what's happening with Call of Duty? Like, it just, you see people complaining about it all the time on the internet, but in reality, it's doing better than it ever has. Because I wouldn't be surprised about that. Because that's usually how these things go. I don't think Phil Spencer would try to pay $68 billion for a franchise that seems like it's beginning to die. Because that's why I thought, that's what confused me, man. Like, I was like, why did Sony buy Bungie if Destiny 2 is doing so poorly? It's like, because it's not. It's making more money than ever. It's like, oh, well, that explains it. Saying Call of Duty's not dead, people complain, but they're still there. Yeah, that's what's weird. Like, don't like famous Call of Duty streamers like constantly on their stream like uninstall Call of Duty to then just come back like a couple days later and stream it again? Isn't that like a thing that I don't know? I don't watch Call of Duty streamers, but I swear I've seen like clips of that happening like multiple times. I'm like, I don't get it. You know what I mean? Like, what's the point of uninstalling it if you're just going to come back? The numbers show different than what y'all are saying. Probably. Saying a bunch of streamers have left. Huh. Yo, did you guys see, talking about streamers, did you see that Kick struck a deal? Like, they paid that one. I don't watch the streamer Excusey. Is that his name? $100 million. $100 million. Like, what? And I saw, like, on Twitter how shortly after he started streaming on Kick, because Kick is trying to compete with Twitch and take all the big Twitch streamers away. And apparently within the first couple days of him streaming on Kick for the first time, he started streaming like The Dark Knight. I don't know if it's Dark Knight or The Dark Knight Rises, one of the Batman movies, one of the Nolan Batman movies. And dude, like, they had to like step in and basically be like, bro, you can't do that. It's like, what? Like, dude, you just paid this man $100 million, or like offered him $100 million. And the guy, like, they don't know like what the rules are. It's so weird, man. Where's my deal? Yeah. Come on, Kick. I'll give you, $300K. $300K. There you go. I'll come over to Kick for $300K. No. I'm laughing because I saw Dr. Disrespect. He's like, my number's 50 million. Like, give me $50 million and I'll come to kick. I'm like, Jesus, dude. It's like just so crazy how some of these like top tier streamers are just like, like, just give me the money. You know what I mean? Give me not just $1 million, $50 million. Like, what the $50 million? I wouldn't even know what to do with $50 million, let alone $100 million. I would be afraid to have that much money, bro. I'm not even kidding. I know that sounds crazy, but I would feel like, dude, I don't want to be responsible for all this. You know, like that's too much, bro. I'd have to donate a good portion of that to charity or something. Supremacy 101, you're saying Microsoft will buy Take-Two, EA, and Ubisoft next. Give it time. Oh man, that would be the worst. That would be the worst. I could see them at least going for one of them, though. I don't think Take-Two would want to be bought. EA, I could see them wanting to be bought. Ubisoft, yeah, I could definitely see them wanting to be purchased. Saying that is illegal. Well, time will tell, man. Yeah, that's the thing. I honestly don't know. I've seen a lot of people speculate, and these are just people on the internet, so I don't know if they're to be believed, but they've speculated that like once Microsoft gets Activision and the floodgates are open, there's nothing stopping Microsoft from basically buying more. And I don't know about that. Like, I feel like that doesn't make sense, you know? Like, I feel like that doesn't mean Microsoft can just steamroll and buy anybody. Like, it's something like, I think that it would be more, like, I was under the impression that it would be more and more difficult each time for Microsoft to get another publisher. But maybe I'm wrong about that. Like, yeah, I don't think like the regulatory bodies just go away, you know? Like saying they will be stopped. That's what I'm thinking too. It doesn't feel right in MBG's heart. We'll see what happens, man. We'll definitely see what happens. Let me see. What is going on over here? All right, so let's the final topic I'm going to discuss today. Probably should have given more love to this topic, and I think it's kind of a shame that it has to come at the very end. And it'll be a short one, but like I said, I'm going to talk more about it as I get further. So, how many of you guys have been playing Final Fantasy 16? And how have you been enjoying it? Because I want to just give you some initial thoughts. I have not played much of it yet. I probably put about like an hour and a half into it. After I beat the demo, so I automatically continued from where I left off. Supremacy 101, you're saying it's illegal, yet all these lobbyists exist to clear these deals. Give it time, and you'll think of this day. Sony should start buying shares. Yeah, I mean, it seems like it should be illegal, and it can't happen, but then again, you look at some of these other forms of media, and you look at how the consolidation has happened over there, and you're like, how did that happen? So I don't doubt you, Supremacy 101. I think in time, I think you're right. I think it's the early days. We'll see. We'll see. And I appreciate the super chats, man. A lot of you guys saying you really like it. So, you know, it's interesting. I've been seeing some people saying they're not enjoying it. And I don't know. I don't want to do that thing. Like, I don't want to make it sound like Final Fantasy 16 is the greatest fucking video game ever made. And is the great, like, if I actually felt that way, I would tell you, I don't feel like Final Fantasy 16 is literally the greatest game I've ever played. However, I think it's really, really fucking good. I think it's really good. And I'm still, again, getting adjusted to it. So I decided, because of how poor I don't know, man. Like, I'm kind of torn. I wanted to start playing on the performance mode, but everybody's saying like it drops a lot and it's noticeable. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'll just start playing at 30 so I can adjust to it right from the start. And if I do that, I'll just play it at locked 30. It's a little tough. I won't lie. I'm not, I am more used to 60 at this point, 60 frames. But for anybody here, has anybody here been playing the game on performance mode? And if so, how has it been? Like, I'm not talking about Digital Foundry analysis. I'm not talking about freeze frames. I'm just talking like just playing the game. How has it been on performance mode? If there's anybody here, there might not be. I don't know. Saying you play it on 30 and it's beautiful. Saying it only drops in towns and stuff. Okay, I might switch it back to performance. Because that's the thing. I'm just gonna try. I think I'm just gonna try it out for myself. Because I saw a lot of people complaining about it in the demo, and I kind of didn't notice it. Like I could notice it a little bit, but it didn't really register. It wasn't nearly as noticeable as, say, switching to just 30. Saying you noticed a few stutters and it wasn't bad. Okay. Yeah, I might just switch it back to performance. I will say in infidelity mode, it does look very pretty, though. It does look very, very good graphically. It's not like the best graphics I've ever seen, but definitely up there. Looks nice. Yeah, apparently we can't turn off motion blur yet. I think they said they're going to add that with an update. Yeah, the motion blur is, out of everything, that's the toughest thing, man. The motion blur is so strong. I don't know what they were thinking there. It's too strong, man. It's too strong. But yeah, I've only played like an hour and a half after where the demo leaves off, and I'm just taking my whole thing with these types of games is I like to take it very slow. Saying not all motion blurs made the same. It seems that way, yeah. It seems that way for some reason. Saying it looks noticeably better in the graphics mode. The battles don't seem hard enough so far to need 60 reaction time. Yeah, that's the thing, man, is I've played quite a few battles so far, and I've been upgrading Clive a little bit. He's not anywhere near fully decked out or anything yet, but I don't know, man. I'm still trying to fully get used to the dodge mechanic. Like, I'm getting better with it, and it does have a really satisfying parry type mechanic where you dodge at the perfect moment, and you can just time slows down for just a second, and you can get a couple hits in. MBG, once that patch hits, it will fix some of those stutters. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. How big of a difference the first patch makes with the performance mode. It's unfortunate that it has to go this way, but yeah, story-wise, I'm not going to talk about anything story-wise. I haven't even gotten that far. I'm just being introduced to kind of the characters that you've already seen in the trailers and whatnot. So yeah, and I like I said, I have seen some people complaining that the cutscenes are too much, but man, I really like them. I really like them. I love games that have, I don't know, man. I kind of like the way they're handling it. I won't lie. I just like that flow of cutscene, gameplay, cutscene, gameplay, cutscene, gameplay, cutscene, gameplay. It really does remind me of Metal Gear in that way. Where it's just sliced up so much, and I totally understand. I totally understand why some people would find that annoying as hell, but for me, I kind of love that. I love that. Dude, I remember in Metal Gear Solid 5, that was one of the things that bothered me about it, is I felt like there weren't enough cutscenes. I felt like there was too much gameplay in between. And it's crazy because the gameplay of MGS5 is so good. Oh, I got a question for you guys. Man, I'm really starting to get drained here. This isn't about Final Fantasy, but I did want to mention this. So apparently the Metal Gear Solid Collection Volume 2 has leaked. And Volume 2 is going to feature Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots, and Metal Gear Solid 5. So my question is for Metal Gear Solid 5, this is going to be the first time the game is actually brought up to PlayStation 5. Are they going to still have Metal Gear Online? Because I'm pretty sure if you go on Metal Gear Solid 5 right now, you can still play Metal Gear Online 3. Like, I'm pretty sure those servers are still up. So I'm like kind of wondering if you guys are saying no. Hold on, why are you saying no though? What? Nuh-uh. Did I miss something? Hold on. Whoa, why are you guys saying that's not happening? Why not? Are the servers? Hold on. I'm pretty sure I'm correct about this. The servers for Metal Gear Solid 5, the multiplayer, Metal Gear Solid 5, not 4, 5, 2015. They're still up and you can go play on them right now. I'm fairly certain I'm correct about that. Even on the Xbox One. So what I was going to say is if they basically port MGS5 and they just like up the resolution and frame rate, because I don't think MGS5 would need much work at all. I'm thinking maybe Metal Gear Online 3 could get a second chance. That's what I'm thinking. Unless they do some stupid ass shit and they're like, we're going to shut down the servers. I'll tell you, I don't think Konami's going to do that though. I think Konami is purposely going to keep the servers for Metal Gear Online 3 up because they have microtransactions. And if they sell MGS5 as part of this collection, dude, that would be the dumbest shit. I would literally facepalm so hard if Konami was like, we're shutting down the multiplayer servers like, you know, a week before we release the MGS Collection Volume 2 with MGS5. No way. I don't believe it. There's no way. I don't believe that shit. Konami would have to be so brain dead. They would have to actively not want money if they did that. To be clear, I'm not talking about MGS4 Online. I know I've talked about MGS4 Online a lot. I know that they're not bringing that back. Who here is getting the MGS collection, by the way? The first one. It's releasing on October 24th. Rashdan V2 saying, I prefer performance mode, but I refuse to play at 720p. Yeah, that's kind of that is kind of crazy. I wonder why it's at 720p. That's like such a low resolution. Maybe because of all the effects. I don't know. See a lot of people saying you're getting it. Yeah, I'm definitely getting it. I don't know that I'm going to play every game on it. But it's just one of those things where I definitely want to have it. I'm definitely going to be more excited for Volume 2, though, because Metal Gear Solid 4 finally being freed from the PlayStation 3 after 15 years, man. It's been 15 years. Hellbound, you're not getting it? Well, they are going to do a physical copy of it. So that's nice. Definitely something I would like to collect. But yeah, just to finish up with what I was saying about Final Fantasy 16 as I'm getting close to ending the stream. It's, you know, as somebody who is not a huge Final Fantasy fan, I've not been a long-time fan, you know? Like, as I said, my first experience playing Final Fantasy was 7 Remake, which was really, really, really enjoyable. You know, people have kept asking me, like, do you think you're gonna like 16 more or not? And right now, I can honestly say that so like, let's say I have about 3.5 hours, maybe close to 4 hours in Final Fantasy 16. At the 3.5 to 4 hour mark in Final Fantasy 7 Remake, I definitely felt stronger about it. Like, it was quite shocking, actually. That was one of the things that I talked about with Final Fantasy VII Remake, is how I kind of couldn't believe like how immediately into the game I got. That's not to say that I'm not into 16. I'm very much into 16. It's just, I mean, I feel like it's kind of unfair. Like I feel like 16 is being judged kind of unfairly. I don't mean to compare it to 7 Remake, because I feel like 7 Remake, the bar is so high, you know. But so far, 16, I'm enjoying every aspect of it. I'm enjoying I'm actually more interested in the characters and the story than I expected to be. I'm enjoying the combat. I like the environment so far. I like the enemies. You can tell like it's really heavy on the drama, and I'm curious to see where it goes. I don't expect the game to like, I do expect there to be some moments that feel like, oh, okay, like, just more exposition and whatnot. And that's fine. Saying, yo, MBG, Sony's getting crushed right now on Twitter. Is that new? Is this supposed to be news, man? Come on. There's nothing new there. Sony's always getting crushed. Dude, Sony's been getting crushed on Twitter forever now. If you're saying more than usual now, well, of course they are. Everybody needs to cheer on Microsoft right now. They need to cheer on that multi-trillion-dollar corporation, because Sony's the bad guy here. Don't forget that. Sony's the bad guy. Do I like Torgal? Yeah, he's awesome, dude. Torgal's awesome. Jay Shaka, you're saying, as a disabled gamer, Final Fantasy 16 is really hard for me, but I'm doing it in action mode despite its difficulty. Yeah, I'm playing it in action mode as well, and it hasn't felt too challenging. Like, well, I mean, granted, I'm not disabled, so I assume that, yeah, it would probably be much more difficult. For me, though, it's been pretty fair so far. Like, I've gotten close to dying in a couple battles, but I have potions and stuff. But a lot of the times I'm like getting hit in these battles, I don't feel like anything's unfair. Like, I definitely can tell like I just need more time to get acquainted with this combat and familiar with it, and the dodging and the timing and whatnot. But it's not like super hard. It's definitely not like Dark Souls or anything like that. Definitely not. But I think it's good. I could understand why some people, especially, I mean, you're saying you're disabled, so I think it would be understandable why anybody who's disabled might need some, yeah, I think it's cool the way they handled it with the rings and whatnot, and you can choose a story mode. And I don't know, I'll have to see where the story ends up going, man. Or not the story, but like the game and its difficulty. Like, I don't know if the difficulty is just going to start ramping up. MBG, try the Final Fantasy setting. Yeah, I'll see if I do that after I beat it. I might try to go for the platinum, so we'll see. Well, guys, with that being said, I think this is where I'm going to end today's stream. I'm pretty much spent on everything I could talk about. Am I going to stream tomorrow or Sunday? It's hard to say right now. I don't want to just, put a stream out there just for the sake of it. And I definitely don't want to I don't want to repeat a topic that we talked about here, because we talked about it pretty much the entire time. We'll have to see. We'll see what comes up for the remainder of the day tomorrow. But I'm sure I'll do something. So, yeah, before I end the stream, though, as always, guys, I want to give you guys a big thank you. Saying go enjoy time with the family. Yeah, dude, I'm going to go chill for a little while, play some more Final Fantasy. I do want to, again, really thank you guys for the support. I really love being able to do this. I love doing the streams. I love hanging out with you guys. I love that you guys, are here for my rants and my crazy moments and everything in between. And I have to give a big shout out to all you guys today. We hit 75 members, which is huge. Don't be fooled by the bar you see at the bottom right. We definitely crushed our goal. We had a goal of 25 today, and you guys, basically tripled that. So thank you so much for that support. And a big shout out to everybody who donated super chats as well. You guys help the channel just as much. So yeah, as long as you guys continue to support this, I will be here, and we will keep the conversation going. The only other thing I'm going to ask you to do real quick before you head out is hit that like button. And Fred Vance comes in again, man, to close it out with another 5 members gifted, closing the day out with 80 members. Dude, thank you again, Fred. I'll have to give you a Keanu for that one, man. More W's in the chat for Fred. He does it again. He closes it out strong. So really appreciate that, dude. Yeah, Fred did some serious work today for the community. Very generous. Love you guys. Means the world. So I hope everybody enjoys the rest of their day. And yeah, just be on the lookout. Obviously, I'm going to have more content coming out. Again, I don't really, as you can tell, I don't really have a strict schedule. So just always be on the lookout on the channel. You know, come check it daily if you're up to it. I saw somebody yesterday was like, man, I didn't know following MBG was going to be a full-time job. Like, I apologize. I know it can be hard. I know there's a lot of content, but one last shout out I want to give is to Devil Shooter. Devil Shooter does the timestamps. He's been doing a really good job with them. He's been getting them out pretty quickly after the streams end. So if you see him in the comment section after the stream ends, be sure to give him a big thank you. But all right, guys. Yeah, everybody enjoy your day. I will catch you in the next one. Until then, take care, everyone.